Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 316th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me in the call tonight, on the panel indeed, Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. Yeah, got a bit distracted there. Distracted by the face of Anthony Fowler on my screen. Hopefully we'll hear from the great man himself. I was thinking, who should we start with tonight, everybody? They're all lining up in the chat. People are messaging me on Twitter. Liam Smith, Sam Eggington. Nah, it was a bit one-sided, wasn't it? Gvozdik against old Dudu and Gumbu. Nobody really wants to hear about that. There's nothing doing on next week. Frederick Lawson lost, Andy. We've got, you can talk about Fury, we can talk about Canelo. You can always get something up about Anthony Joshua, can't you? What shall we start with tonight? I was just thinking to myself there. Well, Andy, people have been saying to me, is this the greatest moment since AB himself had to throw him in, lost to Marcus Maidana? Hopefully our friend is vaping the old CBD oil as we speak. I don't know. It feels like a bit of gallows humour, but we're going to have to start with the man himself. Old AF, Anthony Fowler, getting beaten by Fitzgerald. I didn't see it coming, Andy. I dropped an L from last week. Is this a glorious moment for the Asylum? Take it away.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
Are you still erect?
I'm still erect. I was hard the second he hit. Honestly, I actually lost my shit last night when he hit the deck. I actually woke the wife up fucking shouting and screaming. I was like, fucking yes, come on! But, yeah, it was, well, all intents and purposes, we'll say this, it was a really good show, actually, for Eddie Hearn, so, fair play to him. Really good card last night. Good fight. It's not up there, obviously, with the Chino Broner fight, obviously, because Broner got absolutely schooled, manhandled, chilled handled, whatever handle you want to put on it. Fowler was, he done well, pretty, for the first part of that fight, with the first couple of rounds and stuff, but I really did think that after about 4 rounds, he was showing visible signs of tiredness, gassing. If you look at his lead leg, sorry, actually, it was locking up sometimes, and I kind of felt as well. Ripped the body pretty hard. There was times in that fight. Actually, I did think he was actually going to get Fitzgerald out of there, but fair play to Fitzgerald as well, because obviously the rumours I'd heard obviously didn't stand up. He's clearly took this fight very, very seriously. It showed in his performance, regardless of what Fowler or maybe other people are trying to insinuate. Who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Who cares? Because Fowler took the L. That's all I'm caring about. But if you look at the 9th round, for example, it was, as I said, it was a really good fight. I did say last week as well, I thought Fowler would have probably taken him out. But based on that there, off that there last night, he almost got him at their 9th round, and he was really kind of laying it on strong, put on everything he had into the fight. And I think that was probably him washed up by the 9th round, and then Fitzgerald comes back in the 10th. And obviously, it's far too early to talk about Bellew of the week at the minute, actually, because we'll discuss some of the comments post-fight and stuff. But Fitzgerald needed that knockdown. Just looking at the scorecards, clearly needed the knockdown to win that fight. Or I won't get this right. I think he needed the knockdown, Steve, to get a draw. I think, is that right?
Yep.
So the right uppercut was obviously was the main shot that really kind of stood Fowler up. I think it was 3 left hooks, but the final left hook was absolutely emphatic, and then Fowler goes down. I'm screaming like an absolute fucking reptile, just going absolute mental in the living room at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, waking up the neighbours, banging on the walls, chapping the doors, and that. It was just fucking shitty things you do, like in the student dorms and that, just childish things and that, just because something amazing happens. It was fucking brilliant. I can imagine for like Thurso down to fucking Cornwall, the whole of the UK was fucking rejoicing, as you've seen Anthony Fowler take that huge L there last night, and just. I'm not getting into the post-fight presser and stuff like that at the minute, but Fitzgerald was really good. I've got to give it to him. I'm not against a rematch as such, but I'll tell you what, I would have really liked to have seen actually just for the pure savage in me, just because that's just what I am. But I'd have loved to have seen that fight scheduled for at least 12 rounds there last night, because it was clear. Both were absolutely spent in that 10th round. Once Fitzgerald got the knockdown, that he's run away round about the ring and stuff, I think he was spent by that point.
He was. I agree.
Fowler had nothing left as well. Yeah. So it'd been interesting to see the final 2 rounds, 12th round, who was a stronger man. It'd been really, really good to see. But in the end, we can't complain. Fowler took the L. It's unfortunate it wasn't a stoppage or a knockout and stuff like that, but it was glorious. That's all I can say. Absolutely fucking glorious.
Yeah, I picked Fowler last week based on the fact that we heard things about Fitzgerald, maybe his fitness, changing camps, etc. He was a bit of a lunatic and all that. And I just thought that Fowler, not because he was brilliant, but that he would have the edge. And Andy was talking about the scores there. Fowler was ahead, going on to win the 10th round. And it just shows how big the knockdown was, because then it swung it back towards the draw and then obviously pushed it over the line with the 10-8 over into Fitzgerald's favour. So it was massive. But speaking to IFL afterwards, Anthony was talking about the importance of the knockdown and the left hook, and he explains it himself here.
I am very disappointed. Like me, I broke my heart. I thought obviously I was up on all the cards going to the last round. He needed a knockdown to win, and fair play. He swung a left hook, hit me. I don't know. I just ended up on the floor. It happened so fast. I was flash knockdown. I went like. I looked at Dave and say like, what's happened there? And Dave said, take your time and hold him. So I got up. I was okay. I went wobbly. I don't know about luck, but I went wobbly. I just grabbed him. We're working on the gym in case we do get it. We regroup. Obviously, he went for a walk. I tried to like get back, but he won the round 10-8, and that was a deciding round. I was just kicking yourself about that.
Yeah, 10-8, that was the deciding round, as he explained there. Aussie, again, shout out to AFL so we don't get Article 13'd. The knockdown, he said it was a flash knockdown. People have sent that in for Bellew of the Week, and we're sort of taking the piss out of him. It wasn't a flash knockdown at all. Fitzgerald nailed him with it, then he nailed him again. And it pushed it over the scores in favour of Fitzgerald. And he proved us wrong. You, Aussie, to be fair to you, have been saying about what a good fighter he is and his pedigree. I've never seen it before, but he really put down a game plan last night. He worked well. He took the body shots well. He jabbed. He waited for Fowler, who they were talking about being in the gym all the time, who looked like he was tiring after about round 5. He put too much into it, Fowler, and he maybe wasn't expecting Fitzgerald to still be hanging around there. Fair play to Fitzgerald.
I agree. I'm a bit pissed off, really, because obviously for months I've been saying that, been calling and saying Fitzgerald will win the fight. And then last week, because obviously change of camps, etc. I mean, he actually did a story with the one of the local papers around here, admitting that in camps prior, basically night before fights, he was in casinos, smoking, drinking, all sorts of things and bits and pieces like that. So I think it shows that in reality, his professional career, he hasn't taken serious. This fight, we saw a new Scott Fitzgerald, and something that from a bloke where you can see why he won a Commonwealth gold medal. He was excellent, absolutely excellent. I mean, Anthony Fowler was saying after it that he couldn't understand how Fitzgerald took the shots because, you know, he says that he's knocked out light heavyweights in sparring and he didn't think anybody at 154 could take his shots. Well, Fitzgerald was still there. And that is down to pure, obviously, heart, commitment, and being fit. I thought, whilst he missed the weight slightly, I thought he was in tremendous shape, and he managed to get the 6 ounce off as well. And he was excellent. I like the way he invested in the body early on. That was a clear game plan. I thought his jab was excellent as well. And in the finish, but leading up to the knockdown, he whipped in another left hook to the body, followed it up with a great uppercut, which landed sweet. And then he landed with 3 hooks as well. And, I mean, to say it's a flash knockdown is just downright disrespectful. Just admit that you got caught. It wasn't a flash knockdown at all. And I think Fowler was hurt as well. He said he looked to the corner and he said that he's mouthed to Dave Caldwell, like, what's gone on there? Yeah, that's because you didn't see it coming. That is not a flash knockdown. And, oh, yeah, he was holding on. Well, I'm sorry. If you need to go gung-go, you don't then waste, 15 seconds trying to hold, if you're not hurt. But no, a tremendous performance from Scott Fitzgerald. And I think now that he realises that he can't obviously cut corners, etc., things like that in camp. And this fight really gave him, what he needed to in terms of motivation. And now, look, he's mandatory for Ted Cheeseman, and I would comfortably pick him to beat Ted Cheeseman. On the back of last night's performance, I think Ted Cheeseman plays exactly into the hands of Scott Fitzgerald. But what a good fight, an enjoyable fight as well. And as I always say, it's no shock that evenly matched fights produce the goods.
Yeah, Dippo Osho's been in touch. He's obviously getting pumped up for this one. Come on, fucking Fowler got done, says Dippo on our Facebook page. I can't wait for tomorrow's Asylum. He was writing this last night. He was really enjoying himself, was old Dippo. Will the lads love it like they did when Broner got done? I'm ordering a Chinese now. This was last night. I'm breaking out a bottle of champagne to celebrate. Incredible scene, says Dippo. Don McNamara was in touch as well. Tell the lads I went on a date tonight. Didn't go to plan, so I'm not doing well sexually, says Dom. He's still buzzing after Fowler's loss. People in the chat as well are getting stuck in as well there.
Can't be buzzing after that though, eh?
There's some great chat moments, Andy. I said, now that Fowler's finished, we have to go through his great career moments. The time that he said he was going to knock out Triple G at the end of his career, says JG. Hamed threw in there. He said that Johnny Nelson apparently had Fowler winning the fight throughout. Tony Bellew was sitting on the fence as well, wasn't he? About the Cheeseman thing, Andy, what Ozzy was mentioning there, I will be interested to see what version of Fitzgerald we see now, because he said that he's going to commit himself to the sport and all that. But this was clearly a grudge match. And the amount of times we see fighters get up for a fight, whip themselves into condition mentally. He didn't like Fowler. He was well up for it. He climbed to the top of the mountain. Will he be able to sustain that now? Will he be able to do this again next time and maintain that motivation? That remains to be seen, Andy, because some guys, they have that one big win and then they drop back off again. I'm not saying that will happen to Fitzgerald, but we have to then see him again replicate this.
Exactly, mate. I mean, as I say, well, I think I really don't know if a rematch is really required at this point, because at the end of the day as well, it's always good to see guys at this level put their records on the line and, you know, basically fight out and stuff like that. At the end of the day, if you want to move up levels, that's what you got to do. You got to fight your domestic rivals rather than go through all these international fake bullshit titles and that. But if a rematch comes to happen, I'm not absolutely against it. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I would like to see Fitzgerald in with like Cheeseman and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not going to kid myself. I don't think Fitzgerald was going to be on a world champion or anything like that. I think last night was probably his level. I don't know if it was maybe because Fowler's slightly kind of bigger, slightly more powerful. You know, I think it's fair in saying that Fowler's probably a more legit middleweight, boiling himself down to try and make that. But end of the day, I wouldn't mind seeing Fitzgerald in with like Cheeseman and, you know, maybe Jason Wellborn. Obviously, he's coming off that hard fight. But as you say, is if he's deadly serious, you know, Oz knows some things as well in the background and stuff like that. If he can keep himself on the straight and narrow, you know, there's no saying that he kind of, you know, at the bare minimum become a British champion. You know, that is going to be the ultimate goal, you know, for a fight at that level at the minute, at least anyway. I mean, he's only had 12 fights, for Christ's sake. You know, if you look up and stuff, you think to yourself, okay, he's not going to be a world champion, but off that last night, stuff like that gives him a lot of confidence, a lot of momentum and stuff. As I say, unless it's stupid money for a rematch, then yeah, certainly he should move on, try and get a British title fight. If I get who is the champion at the minute, it's still Cheeseman at the minute, aye?
It is Ted Cheeseman, yeah.
Aye, so, you know, he's coming off that loss as well, so I think that's a fair enough fight to make, actually. Next for Fitzgerald, like.
I think that will happen. I think that will happen next. I can't see why it doesn't really, and I think it's a dangerous fight for Cheeseman to come back to off the back of such a one-sided defeat against Garcia. So it's going to be interesting to see how obviously Cheeseman reacts. You know, in reality, he was beaten up in the fight against Garcia, and there was no two ways about it. And Fitzgerald can clearly punch, and he can carry the power late as well down the line. So that'd be an interesting fight, and one that I think people definitely want to watch, and it's intriguing, I think, to say the least.
Did Herd mention anything about Fitzgerald fighting Eggington?
According to a couple of people, yeah, he said that it'd be an interesting fight, but I've no interest in seeing that. I think I agree with what Matthew. I mean, we can come on to that anyway, but I think Eggington either needs to go down to 147 and take his diet seriously, or he just needs to retire because
retire.
Yeah, because I mean, he is not a 154 fighter, not at all.
He turned into the E level or G level Margarito there last night, and I mean, like as in boxing ability and by looks, he was in a fucking hell of a state last night.
Yeah, he did. He did look in a state. There's plenty of Belly of the Week sent in, as I said, by Brian King, as always. He's getting on the Anthony Fowler train. Before Fowler had lost the fight, he was tweeting out, just want to thank everyone for their support before the fight. I appreciate every single message. Thank you. # hard work pays off. Unfortunately not, Ozzy, as I bring in our first guest very shortly. The thing is about Fowler, Eddie Hearn said afterwards, it's okay, you can come back. We obviously go on about the records, and a loss isn't the end of the world. Fowler can definitely come back again, but there's no chance in my eyes unless they take some kind of backward path towards a European or world title. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not going to win a world title because we all know the way the sport is these days, and that would be a stupid thing to say. But realistically speaking, people talking about him hitting the elite levels, Ozzy, Fowler's not going to come back and get up there. I think his level has been shown to a certain extent now.
I would agree with that. I think he will need to change a lot of things. I saw some people comparing it to a Groves, De Gale type rivalry and fight. I would say that Groves and De Gale were far more skilled and advanced in terms of ability compared to Fowler and Fitzgerald. But like you say, in this day and age with so many world titles, all it takes is one opportunity. And I think, look, it was a big reality check for Fowler. I mean, he speaks, even after the fight, he was saying he couldn't understand how Fitzgerald took the shots. And there's a sense of delusion there, really, that he thinks, look, he's got, like these stone hands, which he'll knock anybody out with. And clearly not. Look, clearly not. But Fitzgerald, yeah.
He knocks you like heavyweights in sparring, mate, with 69 ounce on. Do you not know this? I mean,
find me these light heavyweights.
What exactly, mate? As you say, find me this high upper echelon light heavyweights that he's icing, by the way. And listen, and word's not getting out about these top end light heavyweights. Pish.
Yeah. It's not a fact. I mean, sometimes there's a bit of a reality check can help him, but I mean, there's talk now that they want him to basically he'll go away, he'll have a rest. Some people are calling for him to go up to 160 because whilst he can make 154, they feel that he can make it. I mean, he had breakfast on the weigh-in morning, so look, he can clearly do it. But they feel that because he trains so intense, and look, he's in great nick all the time. Got to applaud him for that. But does it just take out that bit extra? From when he's going 8, 10, 12 rounds, I think the output of shots and the pace certainly slowed, particularly from Fowler's side. You both mentioned it after 5 rounds, he looked tired, which isn't a good thing because essentially it can make you a 6-round fighter. Basically, look, I need to get you out before the halfway point, or I'm going to really struggle because I've just not got the gas tank. So it's going to be interesting, but they want him to apparently look at fighting the winner of Ted Cheeseman against Scott Fitzgerald when that's made. Well, I'm sorry, I'd completely disagree with that. I don't see why Fowler should be manoeuvred into fighting the winner of Cheeseman and Fitzgerald. Unless money talks, I just don't agree with that. I think Fowler needs to go away. He needs to come back, get a couple of good wins. Because one thing I would say is that I think he's struggled in terms. Look at the fights that he's had in his career. Every one of them, realistically, has been a knockover job. At least Fitzgerald has experienced things in his career as well. Look, he got dropped off Adam Jones, a journeyman, but a tough journeyman as well, and better than his record suggests. But he's had the experience of getting dropped. He had a horrendous fight against Craig Morris where he broke his hand. He knocked him out in the 10th round. He was losing the fight. But he had the experience of losing. He has to put on the pressure and finishes a fight late on. And I think they need to build. I mean, look, they've tried to get him fighters with rounds, but they need to get somebody coming back. He'll probably have a knockover job to come back to. And then after that, they need a durable opponent, someone that's going to test him. Otherwise, he will again come unstuck just through lack of experience. Because like we've already seen before, what you do in the amateurs, unless you're an outstanding amateur talent, in reality can be redundant because the pro game is completely different.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Ozzy. We'll return to this card very shortly. Before we do so, delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening onto the call. It's Aqib Fiaz. How are you, Aqib?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Thanks for joining us. We're just talking there, actually, about the show last night in Liverpool, especially the Fowler-Fitzgerald fight. Did you get to see anything in this matchroom card?
Oh, yeah, I watched it last night, mate. It was good night of boxing, wasn't it?
It certainly was. What about old Cash Ali? Bit of a strange move on David Price, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was strange. I mean, it's not good, that sort of thing, for boxing, is it? He was doing all right. I mean, and he didn't really need to do that. It was just sort of weird, like, why he went down that route and got so desperate.
You never thought about that in your own fight, Aqib, no, taking a chunk out of somebody?
Well, I mean, you would, wouldn't you? But only if you really, really didn't like him. But I've never really hated anyone that bad, so no.
Not yet, anyway. You did make your debut recently against Ibra Riaz. He's a very durable opponent. He's only been stopped a few times in over 100 contests. How did you find your performance overall?
Yeah, to be fair with you, I've just been working on it with Jamie, obviously, staying calm and relaxed and more composed, which I thought on my debut with the amount of people that was there to watch and the occasion, it could have got to me, but I didn't. I stayed calm and relaxed, and that was the main objective of the night, to be fair, and I felt like I did that, so I was happy with the performance.
Yeah, you started off quite strong. Looked like you had him in a little bit of bother, and then you eased off and outboxed him instead.
Yeah. I felt like I was hurting him, but to stop him, it would have been very difficult. I mean, he was a lot heavier than me on the night. I think he's been stopped 3 times, and that was a while ago as well. So, he's durable. He's been in with everyone, and I wasn't looking for the stoppage because I knew I probably would have punched myself out.
Yeah, you mentioned the crowd support there. You sold a fair few tickets in Oldham that night.
Yeah, I think it was close to 400, which is quite a lot to be fair with you. I mean, the Oldham Sports Centre is literally around the corner from my house. But yeah, I mean, the people of Oldham love their boxing. The people of Manchester, I mean, they do. And overall, I think even in England now, boxing it's massive again, and it's all just good for boxing, isn't it? Like last night, you seen it was a great night of boxing also.
Yeah, 400 is a remarkable amount to shift. So that was your pro debut then. Was it everything overall that you felt it would be?
To be fair with you, mate, I enjoyed it more than I ever thought I would. I thought I'd be like a bag of nerves, but no, I was calm, and I enjoyed the whole moment.
Training with Jamie Moore, a lot of big names in that camp. How's that coming along? Jamie obviously giving you a wealth of advice, not just as a trainer, he was an excellent fighter as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair with you, I mean, me and Jamie, I think he was an aggressive fighter, and he was when he used to box, and I feel I'm the same as well. So we kind of relate a lot when he's teaching me things and stuff. He'll tell me things that he used to do and things that helped him along the way, and I'm just picking up. I'm learning every single day in the gym, and even just watching the other fighters, I'm learning loads also. I can't go wrong.
You turned pro very young. Tell us about your amateur career, Aqib.
I had about 70, nearly 80 fights in the amateurs. Boxed for England, won area titles every single year. I was always in the finals of the ABAs. Boxed in the Tri-Nations and stuff. And to be fair with you, obviously recently they got rid of 60 kilos in the Olympics, which was my weight. And I thought, with them getting rid of that, I thought I can't really go to the Olympics because I feel like I'd be too small for 63 kilos, but maybe too big for 57. I couldn't make it, so I thought, especially I could probably get down to 57 for one day. I might maybe do featherweight, but I think with the Olympics you'd have to make the weight every single day, and I didn't fancy it, so I thought turning over was the best option for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What weight do you think you'll be boxing at in the near future?
I think featherweight, super featherweight, I can do easy, no problem. Super featherweight, not a problem, but I mean featherweight with a bit of push and obviously the help that Jamie's getting me with a nutritionist and strength and conditioner and stuff, maybe even featherweight.
Yeah, just to remind everybody listening in the chat and also everybody at home, we have Aqib Fiaz on the call at Aqib Fiaz Boxing over on Twitter. Any other websites or social media presences there?
Yeah, my website, aqibfiaz.com, and my Instagram, I think it's just Aqib_Fiaz.
Go and give him a follow, everybody. So Jamie Moore was saying then, no pressure. He thinks you'll be a world champion within 3 years or so. Whether that comes to pass or not, it shows how highly Jamie rates you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big statement, massive statement. But it's just about, improving every day in the gym. And obviously if he sees that, and then he's very experienced in the boxing world and stuff. So if he sees that, hopefully it does come true.
You mentioned as well their strength and conditioning coach. Is this to sort of develop your man's strength and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, because I've only just turned 19 really, so I'm still a bit of a baby. So I think the strength and conditioning, I've never done it before, so it will play a big part in my career, and I feel like I need it, especially early on.
Only the one fight, but you've been working hard behind the scenes, sparring the likes of Carl Frampton for the Josh Warrington fight. That must give you a massive confidence boost, learning from the likes of Carl Frampton.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair with you, I sparred Carl for, I think it was about 6 weeks. And I learned more in that 6 weeks than I think I've learned for the past 5 years or something like that. And that's no disrespect to anyone, but I did learn a lot being in the ring with him. Just the little things he does, there's just so much that I learned, and it's a great experience, and I can't thank him enough for it.
You made your debut on a Steve Wood show. What's the promotional situation at the moment? Are you aligned with any managers or promoters?
Obviously, Steve's managing me at the moment. I feel he said to me, I had a Frank Warren offer, but Jamie said to me, just wait a while because he goes, you don't want to rush into things. And obviously, I think Steve's working on a deal also with Matchroom at the moment, and we're just waiting for the right deal to pop up. To be fair. not in any rush because obviously I'm only 19, so there's no rush.
No, don't blame you at all. Just finally, then, when are you looking to be out next? Is there anything scheduled, penciled in?
Well, obviously the Ramadan's coming up, so probably around June time.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure where or who or anything like that, but hopefully we'll have some news soon, and I can start preparing. Well, I was back in the gym anyway, but I mean, just it's nice to want to get a date confirmed to start working towards it, isn't it?
Exactly, and no doubt you'll be shifting a few tickets as well. At Aqib Fiaz Boxing on Twitter, everybody. Go and give him a follow. This fella's going places. Aqib, absolute pleasure to have you on this Sunday evening.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All the best now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Aqib Fiaz there, yeah. Ben got us in touch with him. Quite a few people talking very highly about this young man, only 19. He's going places. Where are we going? That's the question, everybody. Liverpool, let's stick in there, shall we? Aussie, let's have a look over the rest of the card from Saturday night. We've already glorified old Fowler. I think there's possibly a couple more questions on the phone. I'll bring them up later on whenever the guys join us. We're expecting Dave the Hater Lowback to come on at some point. Rob Kelly as well always joins us, doesn't he? For episode 316 of the podcast. We're fairly getting through them. Anyway, Philip Bowes, associate of Jason Chukwu, no less, got a win over Tom Farrell. That was on Facebook. Enjoyable scrap, if not quite repetitive. I thought Farrell was he wasn't really getting worked over. He was always competitive, but he always seemed like he was losing the round. So Bowes did a good job from the southpaw stance. We mentioned Cash Ali there, decided to take a bite out of David Price, a little bit unorthodox. The lineage, Mike Tyson, now down to Cash Ali, a natural lineage if ever there was one. I was trying to think earlier. I remember people getting bitten in the ring before. Someone got bit on the shoulder a few years ago. I can't exactly remember who it is. If you're in the chat and you remember who was the victim and the biter, let us know. Also, Joe Hughes against Robbie Davis Jr. Well, I picked Hughes last week, didn't really rate Davis. I was only watching this in the background. A few people seemed a little bit disgruntled by the decision. Bring you in a minute, Ozzy. You can tell us all about that one. And Liam Smith, Sam Eggington. I think we were pretty all much unanimous that Smith was going to stop Eggington in about 6 rounds. Eggington doesn't really belong at this type of level, and it was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Ozzy, take your pick.
Yeah, well, may as well start with Liam Smith against Sam Eggington. I think it played out with how everybody thought it would. Eggington would just take too many clean shots, and the fight was waved off. It was comfortable for Liam Smith. You could tell he had no respect for Eggington. He wasn't, bothered by any power or anything like that. And look, he let his shots go, and like I said, he himself was critical. But he said it's probably because basically I had no respect for Sam and I knew he couldn't really do anything. As we touched on just before the call, I think Eggington even needs to go back down to 147 and give that another go and see how he can do there from a weight perspective. Or realistically, I just don't see him having a career at 154 and what is he, 25? But at 25, he's had a lot of tough fights. He's not a young 25, he's an old 25 where, like I said, he's taken a hell of a lot of shots. His sparring is an out-and-out war as well. So he really needs to think about what he's going to do. Joe Hughes, Robbie Davis Jr., it was a close competitive fight. I had Joe Hughes winning. I'm not on my own there. I spoke to a lot of people who were ringside at the show last night and they felt Hughes was winning as well. But the disappointing factor from it was Terry O'Connor, who scored the fight 118-110 to Robbie Davis. A terrible, terrible scorecard from where there's only one other person who scored it the same, and that was Nick Halling, who was commentating for DAZN, which literally, it just sums it up, really. There was never an 8-round swing in it for either fighter. It was a horrible, horrible card, and frustrating as well, really, because it mars what was a decent enough fight. You end up talking and criticising officials. The Cash Ali David Price thing was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Really strange. I think Ali's he just lost. I think he lost his bottle.
Ozzy, did he not accuse Price of biting him earlier in the round, or did I imagine that, or earlier in the fight? Was there not some kind of biting issue?
Ali did it 3 times in the fight, apparently.
Oh, he was the one constantly doing it.
Yeah, one was up against the ropes, and that was caught on camera. I didn't see the other one. And then obviously the one where he was disqualified for was just blatantly obvious. I mean, one, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, but then he did it in front of the corner of David Price. And I tell you what, he must have really bit him hard because he's got a gum shield in there. And the mark left on David Price was it was quite bad. So, I mean, look, it's hit him hard. He'll probably get his expenses. He's having his purse withheld. So in reality, it's for the hard work that Cash Ali's done on the small hole circuit, he's blown it really because he's been disqualified for biting. And it'll never be forgotten about now. And then one other notable result really was Craig Glover, a promising cruiserweight. There was a lot of talk out. Obviously, he destroyed Simon Vallily. He got knocked out in 2 rounds against an import from Czech Republic or something like that. So it's back to the drawing board for Craig Glover. But all in all, a really solid night's boxing, an enjoyable night's boxing, and fingers crossed that this now sets the standard for at least as a bare minimum for Saturday night fight nights on Sky.
Yep. Shout out to Dave Kirkwood in the chat. He came up with a good joke there. He said, "Is David Price even halal?" That's a good one. Bringing out the original material there, Dave. Good job. I think that one was going around Twitter last night, dude. You need to get some more material, I'm afraid. Andy, you got some great material. You were actually praising the show last night, and I'm in agreement with you. I think it was a good show. Fair play to Eddie. He put on some good competitive matchups.
It's a Dear Diary moment, this actually, that Andy actually fucking praises any Eddie Hearn show, you know. But besides that, did we not say it last week, actually? We were all looking forward to it, or it looked like decent on paper at least.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I'm happy enough with this being Saturday Night Fair.
Should be this, standard norm, I suppose, isn't it?
Apart from the headliner, as such, I thought Liam Smith Eddington was a bit one-sided, but they'd put out some good stuff before that, so fair enough.
Yeah, the female fight, we could just, score a line under that, As I said to the wife last night, that, she even said it herself, shite. What's the point of even watching them?
Yeah, one thing, Andy, that was mentioned there, I'd forgotten about. Sleep 99 said, apart from the Jonas fight, I don't think there was any call for that, and this isn't like an attack on women's boxing. If it's decent, I'm happy enough to watch it, but there was no call for that Jonas fight to be on so high up the card. I would have put that on Facebook and put Bowes against Farrell a bit higher up. I don't think we needed to see that, really.
No, I don't need to see him fighting basically, period, mate, in all honesty. That's just my personal opinion, but then people hate on it, so...
Yeah.
Was she not afloat? And she was basically sandwiched on in between.
Oh, right, okay.
In the price to she was on prior to Fitzgerald and Fowler, wasn't she? So that's the only thing I can assume, that she was just afloat, and it was the only time they could get her in. But there was comments as well, basically saying that the atmosphere was just flat, while she was on, and it just killed it from what was obviously like a pretty raucous atmosphere from when Ali had to leave the ring and he got covered in God knows what, mugs, beer, piss, everything from the crowd chucking stuff at him when he was leaving the ring.
Yeah, the old floater. They're talking about putting Jonas in, trying to redeem herself and getting a fight with Katie Taylor, but that's pointless. That'll be too one-sided. Taylor will smash her to bits. There's no point in watching that. Andy, and who was in touch with us? It was in fact Leon from the Boxing Coalition. I haven't heard from him in a while. He said, "Is Anthony Fowler the worst British Olympian to turn over ever? Forget about Audley." I think that's maybe a little bit harsh.
Tom Stalker.
I was going to say Stalker. He was the one that came to mind, yeah.
I don't think... what's his name? Errol Christie. He was never in the Olympics, was he? I mean, this is back in the time when Britain was shit at the Olympics now anyway, so I don't think... Did he qualify? He was poor as a pro. He was a very, very good amateur, but when he turned over and that, he just lacked it. Try to think who else... Tom Stalker, as I say, is the one that kind of springs to mind at the minute, in the most recent memory anyway.
Also, Rio Tonka, Andy was chucking in about satisfying wins. He said, rank the most satisfying win out of Frampton versus Quigg, Taylor versus O'Hara, and Fowler versus Fitz. Which one brought you the most satisfaction?
Taylor O'Hara, because I was there, ringside, abusing Hearn like a fucking Ned.
Those are the days. Who was in touch with us over on the chat? It was High Guard Plodder. He threw a good one in, Andy. He said, what about Tony Jeffries? He did have hand trouble, but considering he won a was it a bronze in the 2008 Olympics? He was a bit of a letdown, wasn't he, Jeffries? We expected a bit more from him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think he had major injury problems. And that was, obviously cut up a fair bit, but I think he had problems with his hands and
hand problems. Yeah,
hand problems and that. End of the day, we see another one as well who took up, obviously, of course, his amateur career, a number of fights. I forget how many actually. There's something like, I don't know, well over 100, I suppose, but I think he was one of the guys that got kind of concerned about the concussions and the head contusions and all that sort of stuff. Maybe decided to call it a day. But if you look at it, I mean, if I recall anyway, his career, it was nothing special. I remember him seemed to labour to a draw against somebody.
Yeah, he sold a lot of tickets. He had hand trouble. He's out in LA now doing a lot in the gyms and that. I think he runs his own gym actually. But he did definitely laboured against somebody. I remember seeing him knocking out Tommy Tolan over here in the King's Hall once. But I don't know if it was a draw. Maybe it was someone like Paul Morby or one of the journeymen around that time, and he struggled. And then he struggled against somebody else, as you say, Andy. But it just wasn't to be. I'm going to throw out a question here, as I did last week with a question from C.A. Watson for us guys to answer later on. So if I throw it out now, we might have a little bit of a think about it. It's from Darren Cope, and he said, with Felix Trinidad being 41-1 when he fought Winky Wright, 15 defences at welterweight over a 6-year reign. He was a 3-weight world champion as well, and had only losses to B-Hop and beat 3 gold medalists. Where does Trinidad sit in the all-time welterweight list and of his generation? So that's what Darren Cope's asking. We'll have a think about that, and we'll come back to it later. Same in the chat as well. If you want to talk about Felix Trinidad, where does he sit in and around his generation in the welterweight list? This led to me getting blocked by Puljas Pugilist podcast or whatever it was. So be careful, everybody. If you put in a wrong opinion, you might end up getting blocked by somebody. But there you go. Felix Trinidad, we'll be talking about him a little bit later on in the show. Episode 316, Aussie's on, Andy Patterson's on as well. We've talked about the Liverpool card pretty much from top to bottom. Yeah, Craig Glover lost, didn't he? Which was a bit of a surprise. I know that he'd had a previous defeat as well. Aussie, what about this one? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but over in Canada on Friday night, there was a guy called Alexander Teslenko who was 15-0, and he got a win over none other than Fabio Maldonado. Was Maldonado not supposed to fight Nathan Gorman last week, but he pulled out with some kind of injury? They drafted in Kevin Johnson instead. Well, he fought on Friday night against this Teslenko, so obviously he's miraculously recovered.
Was that a Canadian card by any chance?
It was indeed, yeah.
I remember listening to that with Ryan Scally on his podcast and that, because they had that Tishlenko on getting interviewed.
There you go then, yeah. He must have, maybe it was a money issue. I don't want to speculate, Aussie, about the Gorman thing, but he seems to have found himself less than a week later getting another chance.
Or 2 weeks. I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. I think they just said he withdrew. I don't know if they gave a reason. I don't know if they cited injury or something, but he's made a pretty quick recovery. And, I mean, look, it didn't really matter. I saw Gorman doing exactly the same as what this Teslenko did. And I hope we never see this Maldonado feature on a UK card ever again, because he's clearly shit. So he's of no benefit to any UK prospect coming up in terms of a decent and worthy fight.
Yeah, Dave in the chat says, where's Tommy 8 Chins? No sign of old Tommy, but rapping Rob Kelly is en route. We're also looking out for Jason Chukwu as well. See if we can get him involved. So we've talked about Teslenko. We've talked about the Liverpool card as well. Let us move on to Aussie. I think we shall go to this Avanesian against Kerman Leharaga fight over in Bilbao. I don't know if Avanesian managed to leave with his faculties, because you know what the crowd's like there. They like to get in the ring, don't they? But I haven't seen the whole fight. I know what was going on last night. Tell me if it was televised. I've seen the ending, and it was a brutal finish from Avanesian in and around the 9th round.
Yeah, it was on Eurosport. I watched it on YouTube this morning. Actually, I saw a link. The ring was absolutely tiny. It's one of the smallest rings I've seen. It looked really small, and Avanesian did what we said he could do last week, and that was definitely upset the apple cart. And it was a tremendous finish. Lariah started off reasonably well, and then Avanesian came into it and showed his quality, and he was landing flush. And we did say that obviously Frankie Gavin was outboxing Lariah, and then obviously he got stopped. So there was flaws there from showed that, you know, look, there's ways to beat him, and Avanesian, he just played into his hands. It was a clear case of, look, Loraya just used this simple tactic. I'm going to try and blow you out. If I can't blast you out in 2, 3, 4 rounds, then what am I going to do? And it showed to that. And Avanesian used all his experience. And look, it's a quality win, that, because in reality, I put a post out before saying that he got mugged around by Josh Kelly and his team at the back end of 2018. It was an absolute piss take what happened to him. I mean, I've never seen it, somebody pulling out on the morning of a fight, ever. There was talk about Avanesian moving to America to try and get opportunities, leaving Carl Greaves. Anyway, this opportunity came up to go to Spain to fight for the European title against, obviously from what we've seen as Loraya, is where he's ironed out 2 Brits, and Avanesian pulled off a tremendous upset. And look at the opportunities that opens for him now. EBU title probably gives him a top 10 world ranking in near enough all the governing bodies. And he can look forward to some promising and big fights compared to, obviously, I can't see the Josh Kelly fight happening now. Absolutely no chance. I just don't see them. I don't see Booth and Kelly fancying it, particularly now after last night's performance.
No, it's a shame because I would like to see it. Still Avanesian, he's done things the hard way. He does have form going on the road in the past. In 2013, he got a split draw against 23-0 Aslanbek Kozayev in Russia, although I suppose it's not really on the road, is it? But he wasn't expected to win that one, having the loss. I think he was bought in to lose there, but he managed to get the draw anyway. He beat Shane Mosley, not a surprise, in 2016. We know Mosley was finished, Andy, by that point. Then lost to Lamont Peterson, showed his toughness, got knocked out by Kovalev, who we'll discuss soon. He fought last night against the real Ray Robinson. And then he came in against 27-0 Leijeraga over in Bilbao, and a big puncher, one-dimensional. Could he be outboxed? We weren't sure. But Avanesian, he did the job by putting the finishing touches to the boxing performance and getting him stuck in and knocking him out there. And the ring was small, the crowd were in their faces, and it was all set up for Leijeraga to move on to world level. And Avanesian, I hope he gets a few big opportunities off the back of this, because it was an excellent win.
It was a very, very good win, especially go to Spain anyway. I've only seen the finish, so I can't really kind of comment on the fight itself as such. But as I says, Avanesian, it was more like a kind of case of, where does he go next and stuff. As Ozzy says, after his team spoke to us, we were talking about him leaving, and maybe he went back to Europe. But we're talking about going to America. Next minute, this chance, as I says, this fight came out of the blue for me. I think maybe even mentioned it last week. Stepped it up, and he's took the guy out of there. Maybe Leijeraga was getting slightly overhyped in that. I don't know, but clearly he's got his limitations, and Avanesian has now got himself the European title. That's all I can really kind of like mention about it and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to say Leijeraga like exposing that. I just think he's been brought along kind of very, very slowly. If you look at his kind of like his fights against Skeet and Gavin, that I think that kind of more kind of reiterates my point and stuff. Because I say they've dragged him along very, very slowly, and they've stepped him up at this point here, and he's come up short. And I think they're going to go back to the same route again in probably the next 5-10 fights. They'll fight on the script bums, maybe try and kind of fight a European. I don't suspect, maybe Ozzy might know differently than me, that Avanesian will hang on to the European title. Who knows? It keeps him relevant, I suppose, in Europe. Eddie Hare might come calling again. Who knows? But it opens up a few opportunities for him, and certainly probably at least another good payday in the UK at least.
I can definitely find out to see if they'll about the European title. I don't see him chucking it away immediately. At the end of the day, look, particularly now, why would you want to fight him? Particularly, if he gets rid of the European title. So who knows? I think the win opens up, like we've all said, it opens up a lot of doors for him, and I think he'll get quite a few fights on the back of this as well. And he's a decent fighter. He's a good fighter, and so it's going to be interesting. But obviously, I think there's a lot of people who wish well on him, particularly for the UK, after the situation which he encountered at the back end of 2018.
And Ozzy as well, a brief word on friend of the pod, Carl Greaves. Great to see him getting some success with one of his fighters.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's had a couple of good weeks now. Obviously, he had Sam Bowen top in the bill in Leicester and got a good win there. And then he's gone over to Spain as the underdogs and produced and he's led a decent camp and come back victorious. So yeah, it's always good to see that the decent people. Neil Marsh is the manager of David Amanessian, and he's excellent at what he does. So it's good to see the people like that in boxing who can go unnoticed, get just reward through a fighter that they've managed and stuck by as well.
Yeah, it's always good to see people getting their just rewards. Hopefully we'll get our just rewards maybe in the next life, who knows. We are trying our best here on a Sunday evening. No sign of old Rob Kelly yet. Maybe he's off putting in a A-star performance somewhere. Talking of A-star performances, Andy, what about Gvozdyk against old Dudu and Gumbu? I felt sorry for old Dudu.
Do we have to?
Well, you know what? I probably need a bit of advice from you here, because I was watching it in like a Russian language feed or something, as I got slagged for this last week for watching Russian language feeds by people. That's the best I could find of this fight. And old Dudu looked like he had some kind of a hamstring injury or something. He took a step back and then he looked in agony, and there's no way this guy was faking it. It's his biggest chance. He's had 8 losses already. He's not going to get another opportunity. He was crying in the ring. Is it just down? What's the verdict here? Because I haven't even looked it up. Is he? What did he hurt?
It was his calf. I think he might have pulled a calf muscle, and I don't know if he's like when he's like kind of like step back or whatever. That it's either like instant cramp or it's popped and that. But the guy was clearly emotional. You know, not just after the fight, but post-fight, pre-fight as well. Sorry. He never belonged in there. Let's be honest about it. I mean, you could see it. You know, he was ragged right for the off, and that. You know, I think it was Andre Ward that maybe mentioned it in the commentary that, you know, that there are fine levels, shall we say, these fighters, and that was just, it was apparent to see Gvozdyk with that high amateur experience, and I don't know about what was his name? Bobo.
Dudu and Gumbu.
Dudu, fucking but fucking Duzu. That's what he fucking dropped there, like a big doozy he dropped there last night. He just didn't belong in there. I can understand if a fighter is coming off a fight where he's badly damaged an opponent and he's just no up for it and maybe not feeling it, so you give him an easy opponent and stuff. But he doesn't strike me as that type of guy that he's been absolutely kind of like upset by what happened to Stevenson. So, you know, I just think it's probably just a top rank thing. You know, just kind of like keep the fighter busy. You know, path resistance fights, and then they'll gradually pick it up. But it was poor. And to be honest, I mean, I don't think any of us saw much a big fucking doozy last week that we were talking about that. So there's not really much I'm going to add on. The fact is that it was a poor defence, or first defence, and that, you know, okay, they'll get easy defences, but I don't think that's an excuse. That guy was a bum. He shouldn't have really been in there for a world title fight. Sorry.
Even for a first defence. Even for a first defence.
Even for a first defence, mate.
Because they do tend to be soft, don't they? You know.
Yeah, often. But they do tend to be soft. But at least, you know, fucking, you know, there's soft, and then there's fucking diarrhea. That was diarrhea last night, man.
Softer than bellyache shite. I
mean, come on. I mean, fucking, you know, did this guy not get bummed off fucking Fanfara? And
yeah, he's been beaten a load of times, Andy. I do agree with you.
Yeah, no, come on. So let's fucking put it in perspective here.
Yeah. What about the mindset shift, Ozzy, for Gvozdyk? He goes from a position where he was going in against Adonis Stevenson. He was the challenger, probably less to lose against an experienced champion, even though Stevenson was obviously getting on in years and he'd had a few easy defences. To now being the champion himself, Gvozdyk, he's expected to come forward and get rid of a guy who's got 8 losses on his record. No issues with the mindset shift. He got in there. He's been dropped before, hasn't he, Gvozdyk? He has showed slight vulnerabilities, but he's not going to, you know, come a cropper against level of opposition as Mr. Ngumbu.
Well, speak for yourself, Steve, obviously, because Mr. What's his name? Ngumbu was actually the World Boxing Council Francophone light heavyweight champion. Ooh. So, I mean, anyone holding a prestigious belt like that is obviously got some capabilities. He won that on a majority decision, but...
Can we just say that? Can we just say this, by the way, that we're talking about fake titles now? Anthony Fowler actually failed at WBA international level last night, by the way. Just put that in perspective.
Oh, it was a way to weave Tony Fowler in again, Andrew. But no, I agree.
It's Sunday Oswald, so we could just call each other for the first names.
Yeah, well, Oswald's not even my name. So
what is it? What is it then?
Oliver.
Ostrich.
Yeah. Definitely not ostrich, Stephen. Anyway,
I call you Ollie, by the way.
No, don't do that. Don't. But no, Andy's right with Ngumbu. This guy shouldn't be allowed to. He's just not of the right caliber. Even of a first defence, look, don't go off beating Adonis Stevenson in the fashion he did to then go and fight this guy. What's the point? I mean, it keeps him active, I guess. You know, it gets him out there, and they've got to be looking at stepping it up from. Well, I mean, they can't go any lower in terms of caliber of opposition, so they need to definitely step it up. But no, I didn't see the full. I just saw bits. I mean, I thought the referee looked a bit confused. I don't think he really knew what to do. Obviously, in Ngumbu, he had that injury. Now, it should have been waved off straight away, but did he give him something like a 5 or 10 minute rest to see if it'd improve? I don't think you can do that. I just thought, if you suffer an injury like that, it should have been waved off immediately. But I'm sure he got a rest, so that's obviously a learning experience for the referee more than anything. But no, for Gvozdyk now, I think we all want to see him, and it's a decent division. So I think it's time for unifications and nothing else really. I think that's what we all want to see, is the light heavyweight titles unified.
Yes, there's some good fighters about, isn't there? The likes of Kovalev, Bivol, Beterbiev, if he's even going to keep on fighting, I suppose. We could get them all in. With Gvozdyk, we just want to see the best fight the best. I know I've been critical of Top Rank in the past, but sometimes their matchmaking does leave a lot to be desired. There's a fine line between protecting someone and well matching them and putting them in with shite on a consistent basis, and I hope they don't. They walk that tightrope effectively and eventually get Gvozdyk in against somebody decent and don't just keep on giving him these type of defences, although it's going to have to go up a level from the likes of Ngumbu. They can't really justify anyone of his level. On the undercard, Andy, we talked about Kudrateo Abdukakorov last week. He got a win over Keita Ibarra. I haven't seen that one. Ray Robinson surprise draw against Kavalauskas. Kavalauskas was getting set up, wasn't he, to fight Terence Crawford? We know what's going to happen there. Kavalauskas ain't going to beat Terence Crawford. Don't want to see that at all. Also, upset loss for Frederick Lawson, 27-1. Wasn't expecting him to lose against Juan Ruiz.
Yeah, well, I never saw the loss in stoppage, but that was an absolute shocker, actually. Especially, well, obviously it was an 8-rounder, but it was an absolute shocker because I remember, who's it that guy lost to again? But there was big things tipped to that guy. I think it might have been Busy or something like that, but there was things tipped to that guy as well. But it was a shocking stoppage.
Who, Lawson? It was Kevin Bizier, wasn't it?
Aye. Ray Robinson, I thought he gave Kavalauskas a fair bit of problems last night with his length and his reach and that. And again, probably another fighter last week we never really gave a lot of respect or credit to and stuff like that. You know, especially his hunger and that. I mean, I didn't really know much about his backstory and that. When you hear about it, it was pretty grim. So, you know, very play to the guy and that to get a draw out there last night. I just thought Kavalauskas didn't really have. It was no urgency, didn't mix it up as such. And again, I just thought he had major issues with the fact that he was fighting a longer guy who was taller. As for is it Kudratlio? What was his fucking name? I know Ben was big on the guy and stuff like that. I remember him. He knocked out Charles Manucci or something like that. One round, he was getting hyped off that one knockout. And I just, as I say, I've not seen the fight, but for what I've been hearing of it, it was pretty disappointing. So, just to go back to the Kavalauskas comments about Crawford stuff like that, and back to what we're talking about, Top Rank in this matchmaking, that's them over the back of it. Unless they can make fights in house, there's no really, they will no make fights with any other promoters as such, unless it's a big fight with like a lot of money on the line and stuff, or they're really forced into it. I really don't know what to do with Kavalauskas next to that as well. I know he's highly ranked, for example. I need to go and pull up the rankings and stuff like that to see where he's situated. But if you look at it, I would probably say he's not even I wouldn't even say he's top 10. I do know some of the publications. I remember off Box Monthly this week it came in actually said that he's in the top 10. So I would need to reassess that one after last night.
Catch up with some of our friends and listeners. 30th Century Man mentioned something that Editing King also mentioned in the chat earlier, talking about biting. Andrew Galotta bit Samson Pujar on the neck. Also, Maidana versus Floyd. That's right, there was a biting. I think Floyd accused Maidana of biting the palm of his hand or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I threw a fucking 12-ounce glove. How's that possible?
Well, I tell you what, given what Maidana's been eating since he retired, you know, I'll say he could get through a few things.
Aye, true, mate. This is freaking true. I bet he can eat a whole puma in one sitting. By the way.
I bet he probably could. Yeah, Danny Young was in touch as well on Twitter with us. He said, shout out to both of the guys last night, Cash Ali and David Price, for their terrible ring entrances. Price was money for nothing, and Ali was a song one of his rapper pals made about him. It was awful, says Danny. I was hit and miss on the Matchroom undercard right up until Fowler, and then I got in the zone and I was watching that. So the earlier on stuff, though, yeah, I wasn't really paying too much attention. But as we said, good card. Well done, Eduardo. We're talking of good cards. Last Sunday, we were not able to cover this fight because it went on after. Gabe likes a bit of Sunday night boxing. We had Lamont Peterson against Sergei Lipinets, Anthony Peterson on the undercard. Has anyone as mediocre as Anthony Peterson, I'm sure there is, ever got to 37-1? Such a high, lofty record, being so mediocre as Anthony Peterson. A draw with Argenis Mendez there. Good fight between Jamonte Clark and Vernon Brown as well. But talking about Peterson, Lipinets, we've only seen bits of it, Andy, haven't we? It was actually an excellent fight. The end of Peterson, Lipinets moves on. Just looking at both guys going forward. Obviously, we're not bothered about Peterson because he ain't going to fight anymore unless he gets dragged out again, I suppose, for one last payday. But Lipinets, maybe a bit too small for welterweight, but he could be brought in as an opponent of some description possibly in the future, Andy.
Yeah, I suppose either that, Mikey Garcia might want a rematch, something to kind of tune up. I don't think Mikey's going to make 135 anytime soon. Who knows? But as I said, I never saw the fight last week, mate, and honestly, I mean, the Sunday fights are really doing my nut at the minute with the PBC and stuff, because you just haven't got time. Once your week starts on a Monday, that was usually about Wednesday before you get a chance to kind of like break things down a little bit and that. But no, I never saw it, mate. So was it his brother that got a draw as well?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. His brother's not great, is he?
I didn't really remember watching much, to be honest, mate. But Peterson, on the other hand, I suppose, decent career. Can we say that? At least I know he's always going to have that question mark over him about the drug test over Amir Khan and stuff. But I thought it was a really good fight against Khan, actually, and it's a controversial comment. I'm going to say it again. I personally had Lamont Peterson beating Amir Khan and 113-112. I've watched the fight about 3 times since the fight's happened, which is a good 8 years ago, and I always get the same result.
Were you the man in the hat, Andy?
I wasn't the man in the hat, mate. No, I'm always the guy who tries to give his objective scorecard. And to be honest, I have been an Amir Khan detractor over the years and stuff, but there was no bias in that because. In that scorecard, but at the end of the day as well, I know you can look at the fight itself and say, look, listen, the scorecard, the point deductions were bullshit. I can agree with that, but at the same time, the referee is the official in charge. If the official says there's a point deduction, you have got to take that point off. It is just that simple, and that's how I end up coming to the scorecard. 113-112 to Peterson. But at the end of the day as well, is he never really kind of hit the heights. He fought probably this after that fight. I think it was a washed up kind of hope at that point, and they got iced off Matisse. I think he really got done up by that pellet, the PED thing and stuff. But who knows? Because if you look at it, his career didn't really have much success after that, did he? I mean, he fought Derry Jean, for example, and he might have
who wasn't great.
He wasn't great. He pushed Garcia in about a close fight in that as well. Again, I don't know if that was a close fight. Felix Diaz, I think Crawford might have beat him quite handily, I think, just off the top of my head. And having SN as well, and then obviously Spence told him over 7 rounds and stuff. So it's been an okay career. Listen, I don't hate Peterson at the end of the day. Okay, Peter, at the end of the day, people are going to shut him for like the drugs and all that sort of stuff. I shut on fighters for drugs and all that type of things and that as well. They're probably all at it, but I've got no qualms with Peterson. If you read his backstory and stuff like that, that guy came from absolute fucking nothing. Deserted by his parents and stuff like that. He still dragged himself out through the gutter, made himself a pretty penny. So I can't hate on that at the end of the day.
No, I agree with that. Del Boy's Boxing News is in the chat. He said Lipinets versus Ugas would be decent. I can't remember who was talking about this during the week or the previous week after the Lipinets-Peterson fight to give them their credit, but they mentioned a photograph early on in their career when they both turned pro, or when they'd both been boxing, Anthony Peterson and Lamont Peterson, for a while, and they were standing next to each other, and they pretty much looked in and around the same sort of size. And then they made the point that recently there was a photo of them, and Lamont looked like so much bigger. He looked like taller and broader and everything. I'm not making any suggestions here, but it has been mentioned, and I suppose it's come to pass at the end of the day about the PED issues. But we just don't know what's going on behind the scenes, do we? Terry MC has reminded me in the chat, it was Chisora who bit Paul Butlin on the shoulder. 100% right, Terry. Thank you for reminding me. That's the one I was talking about. Derek Chisora bit Paul Butlin on the shoulder. I couldn't remember that, so thanks, Terry MC, for reminding me of that one. The guys are talking about Lamont Peterson and Amir Khan in the chat. Peterson's done, Ozzy. He's out now. You watched bits and pieces of the fight as well. Sergei Lipinets against Yordenis Ugas, maybe. He's not going to be a world beater, Lipinets. Can't see them putting him in against Mikey Garcia again, unless they're really desperate. They've sort of chewed meat now. But he's not a bad fighter at all, and he will be competitive at the top level, Lipinets.
I agree. I agree. He's solid. He's decent. He's a good fighter. Yeah, he wouldn't go. I mean, he would probably fight Mikey Garcia again, but he's a fighter, and they'll rarely turn down anybody. But he didn't disgrace himself in that fight, in my opinion. I thought he did better than expected. And there's not many people, realistically, particularly at 140 or at lightweight, who would go with Mikey Garcia. So it was, from a betting perspective, Peterson was actually the favourite in the fight, and Lipinets looked good. He looked good in doing it. Peterson's had a decent career, a good career, one that I can be obviously proud of. I like the way that he knew it was the time to go. I think he could easily carry on, and his name would just get him, naturally a few more relatively decent paydays. But no, he feels that it's time to go, and fair play to him. You did mention in terms of somebody average getting to like 37-0. Obviously, we've got to make a note to the Cobra. I'm not on about Carl Froch. I'm on about Arnold Jurchai, who lost his undefeated record to David Hay. I think he was, 29-0 when he came over to the UK, Steve. So obviously that's one that was a completely padded record and somewhat undeserved.
Cheers, Ozzy. Let's have our second guest of the evening on the call now. Delighted to welcome Umar Sadiq. How are you, Umar?
Hello?
How are you, Umar? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad at all. We're just talking about the action from the weekend, particularly the Liverpool card involving Anthony Fowler and a bit of Liam Smith as well. Did you get a chance to see any of it?
Yeah, I did. It was a good card, actually, in the end.
What do you think about the Fowler defeat then? He can bounce back, but a tough one?
Yeah, I think it was a tough one. There's every chance that he might have overlooked the opponent, but that's not taking anything away from... what was his name again?
The opponent, Scott Fitzgerald?
Yeah. Pardon? That's it. Yeah. That's not taking anything away from him because he boxed a really good fight. And I only caught the second half of that fight. And from what I saw, he was getting the better of Fowler. And towards the end, like in the ninth round, I could see some of the shots. Just as a fighter, there's certain signs that you can pick up on. And I was thinking, he's hurting him a bit here. But it looks like shots that were hurting, but Fowler could take. And then obviously in the 10th round, he just sealed the deal with a knockdown. And well deserved win. But with that being said, Fowler put up a very good fight, and I'm sure he'll be able to bounce back from it.
Fair play to both guys taking the fight with undefeated records. You have experience as that yourself. You were 3-0, and when you went in against Zach Chelly, who was 4-0, both of you took the fight despite being early in your careers. Why did you accept that fight? What was the thinking behind that?
The thinking behind it is that, really I should be beating Zach Chelly handedly, and I still believe that. Sometimes it's just not your night, and you turn up the shell of yourself. But so that was my thinking, and I'm sure it would have been his thinking too. But ultimately, it comes down to the fact that I am a professional boxer, and this is what I do. So if I'm not willing to fight opponents who are coming in to win, then why am I in the game? I fought about 45 fights as an amateur. Only 9 of them are novice and the rest were elites. So virtually my entire boxing career, I've been used to going in, under high stakes against opponents who are skilled and coming to win. So I don't see why I should be doing anything different in the professional ranks.
Well said. You've bounced back with a win since. It must have been hard, obviously, to take. But, I mean, how have you recovered mentally? How do you think about the fight now? Is it philosophical, take the loss and sort of move on?
Yeah, there's that. There are obviously lessons to learn. But like I mentioned earlier, I was genuinely a shadow of myself in there. And because of that, I've actually taken more confidence from it, because I was just like, with everything that happened going into the fight and the form I was in the ring in, I was able to put on, an entertaining and close fight where I was coming on strong towards the end and nearly stopping him. So if anything, I took confidence from it, thinking if that's me being, firing just as part of myself, what happens when I'm turning up with the preparation all going well and, the warm-up going well and stuff, then, for me, it just solidified that I'm definitely already at British level, if not more. And I know that might sound a bit bizarre to some people, but just watch this space.
You mentioned, obviously, about the preparation. Without getting too much into things, you've changed your situation behind the scenes now. Harry Andrews is in as a coach?
Yeah, I've got Harry Andrews in as a coach and another guy called Umar. So it's a fantastic experience of Harry Andrews, who's been a professional boxing coach for 11 odd years. And Omar is the head coach for the seniors at Repton Boxing Club. We are boxers and amateur. So I've got a good mix of experience and someone who really understands me, who I have a good connection with. But ultimately, I do have a good connection with both of them, because they're both studious, they're both winners by nature, so they want to do what they've got to do to win. And they're on the same page in regards to what I need from a development. So happy days.
Are you promoted by Frank Warren as well? What sort of plans has Frank got for you moving forward?
Well, what I'm getting from the Frank Warren office is they're trying to get me out on another run out. So I had a run out on my last fight, and that was mainly because I was asked to wait until this Wembley card to get a fight, and I wanted to stay busy. So I asked if they can get me on a show with another promoter, and they did. And on this show coming up, it seems like they're trying to get me out on a run up. Like I said, it was a hiccup what happened with the Chelly fight, and I'm happy to jump back in with other contenders, and get right back in the mix where I was. But there's a good chance that in this fight I may have to fight someone who bridges the gap between those two, between a runner and a contender. But going on from there, I'm definitely going to be banging the drums, or beating the drums, so to speak, and, get me in with other contenders. Let's fight for titles or title eliminators, because that's certainly where I belong.
Yeah, just to remind our listeners, we are talking to Umar Sadiq at Top Boxer Sadiq over on Twitter and Instagram. You take self-promotion seriously, Umar? You do a bit of YouTube vlogging as well?
Yeah, I do. Actually, my latest vlog was out today. I've done a Q&A, so I had quite a few questions to answer, and I did. Go check it out. My YouTube page is Umar Sadiq Top Boxer. But yeah, like you said, promotionally on my social medias and my YouTube, I'm always fresh, original with my content. I'm doing things like, speaking to strangers out in Westfield Shopping Centre, getting Anthony Joshua in the ice bath or in the shower, speaking to Paulie Malignaggi behind the scenes in a boxing show, showing behind the scenes footage of boxing shows that you typically wouldn't see, interesting things about my life, and yeah, just a little bit of original things that are definitely worth looking at. So I'd encourage your listeners to go over to my socials and my YouTube page and just have a look.
Yeah, everybody go and have a look. We've just got Umar for a couple more questions here, everybody. You mentioned there the British Warriors card. That was in Watford. You're in against a guy who's lost a lot of times, obviously, but he's generally difficult to stop. How did you feel getting back in the ring?
I felt great. It was my first fight since October last year, so I really wanted to get in. It was also my first fight with my new team. So I was keen to get in there and put into practice the things that they've been teaching me. And I actually didn't watch the opponent until 11 p.m. the night before the fight. And I remember watching it and seeing him against cruiserweights and light heavyweights. I'm a super middleweight myself. I was giving away quite a bit of weight for the fight. But yeah, I remember watching him against these guys, and they were going crash bang wallop, putting everything into it, trying to get a stoppage, and he was still just not only going the distance with them, but mocking them, like putting his arms up and putting his hands on the ropes and dancing, that sort of stuff. And I thought, I'll do well to stop him, but what I should be doing is making the most of these 6 rounds and practicing what I've been learning in the gym. And literally, I stopped him in the second round, but literally what I was doing, at the moment in a stoppage, just practicing things that I've been doing in the gym. I was telling someone, I was like, yeah, I tried this move and I didn't feel like it worked quite well, so I tried it again, and then I tried it again until I knew the rest was in. So without giving away too much, obviously, that was great. And it just reinforces that what we're doing in the gym is working well, stopping a heavier guy who heavier guys are not stopping. And now I'm looking forward to getting back on the big stage with Frank Warren and showing everyone at the Frank Warren stable live what my new setup is getting me to perform like.
Yeah, you're quite a busy guy out of the ring on your social media. You list the fact that you do a bit of modelling, and also you're a vegan. How does that work out with your training regime?
Well, with the modelling, they typically ask for my availability, so that's quite easy to work with. Sometimes it's a bit hard to turn down some jobs because of the money, and they don't always come around so consistently. But in regards to the veganism, if anything, it helps with my training. I'm full of bundles of energy all the time. I make my weight easily. I feel great. I actually enjoy eating healthy. Unlike a lot of people that see it as a burden, I genuinely enjoy eating healthy. So I look at it more as a lifestyle, really. And for the most part, I don't even understand why it's a problem, because, like, as human beings, we're not designed to be eating meat in the first place. Mm-hmm. I know there are a lot of arguments for and against, but ultimately we aren't. And it's more of a modern day thing that people are having meat with every dish, because in the old days when you had to farm your own animals and or hunt and stuff, you just couldn't afford to eat meat like we do today. So if those guys are fighting wars and hunting and doing whatever else they were doing, then surely we can do that today again.
Yeah, you're obviously quite a thoughtful guy. I've seen you talking about different things on your videos, including cryptocurrency. I think you have a sponsorship from that area as well.
Yeah, I do. So I've got a company called Bitstock. They're a cryptocurrency investment firm doing a lot of great things, bringing cryptocurrency to the mainstream, but ultimately facilitating people taking control of their own finances and giving power to the people, so to speak, in autonomy also in the way that they manage the finances and operate within the economic realm. So yeah, it's a company that's doing great things. They've got a lot of charitable and beneficial things to the world that they've got planned down the pipeline that excite me. And for these reasons and the fact that they do things so differently, similar to the way I do, I was happy to get on board with them, or another way to say it is get them to get on board with me. But basically to marry up a partnership. And yeah, there are a lot of good things coming, but that will be clarified more through that partnership. So stay tuned and you'll see.
And just finally, swinging it right back around to boxing as well, you've mentioned before in the past that you genuinely believe you can aspire to world level. Do you think you can become a world champion?
I know. It's already done. Like, I am a world champion. It's just a matter of manifesting that in the physical realm. But yeah, 100%.
And the journey will continue. So we haven't got a date just yet then, but we're looking for something. Maybe Frank will get something for you.
We do have a date.
Oh, we do.
27th of April at Wembley Arena. I've got tickets available on my website. It's a good website. It has a lot more information about me as well. It's a very honest website. It's not like other fighters that I actually do have on there that I've lost a fight. So go on there, check things out, and grab yourself a ticket or two. Get a crowd down, come support, and like I said, I stopped the last opponent in the second round, an opponent that he usually doesn't get stopped. So they're exciting. Well, there's an exciting performance to look forward to on the 27th of April.
Definitely. I would urge all of our listeners to go and support Umar. He's certainly going places. Absolute pleasure having you on this Sunday evening, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks, Umar. All the best now.
Cheers. Bye.
Right. There you go, everybody. Top boxer Sadiq over on the old Twitters and Instagrams and stuff. Yeah, he's a vegan. Does a bit of cryptocurrency. Bringing it all here on a Sunday evening. You ever been into the cryptocurrency scene, rapping Rob Kelly? Bit of Bitcoin?
Just have a bit of coin. That's it.
Not much coin.
Not much coin. Subscribe to Patreon, everybody, for that up-to-date content. Get your money's worth. You're robbing us with the Patreon. You're robbing us $5 and you're getting all that. You want to be giving us about $50 a month each, every one of you.
£3.72, Rob, and they can have the pod within an hour. They can have 2 fresh things that you won't hear anywhere else. I would agree with you.
Yeah, and from now on, we're only listening to complaints from Patreon subscribers. All this, where's the pod up? Well, I want to listen on the way to work. Well, pay your fucking £3.72 then, and then you can complain, assholes. Only joking.
Well said.
I love all the listeners.
Yeah. Talking of shameless plugs, people looking for retweets and cash and stuff. What about Anthony Fowler with a big fat L in the middle of the old Fowler? Did you stay up on a Saturday night, Rob?
I actually did. I actually watched it last night. Tuned in on that app that I have. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I mean, fucking Andy called it pretty much without. I know we all kind of tipped Fowler to win and probably win by stoppage because we were all buying into the rumours about Fitzgerald's out of the ring antics and his preparation and that. But Andy had kind of said, like, you know, if he does when he does get his L, he'll hang in there and try to make a contest of it. I think he kind of done that in the ninth round. He emptied the tank, but there was nothing between them. I thought in ability levels, I thought Fowler had a bit of an edge in power. That was kind of the differentiator in the opening 3 rounds. But after that, I thought Fitzgerald took over the fight. Like, I thought he was better on the jab than Fowler. A lot of people thought Fowler's jab was better, but Fitzgerald was executing his a lot better and a lot more effectively. He hasn't got much head movement, but he was still able to find Fowler with a right hand over the top. Now, if he could punch, Fowler would have, his head would have been in the 6th row. And the thing about punchers is if they're fighting bums, they're always going to look better than they are, because when they hit someone, the guy don't stay around and they look like this big knockout artist. But what he found last night, Fowler, was he was hitting Fitzgerald and he wasn't going anywhere. And his inexperience kind of showed. He loaded up on shots. He was tired after the 5th round. And I think where you really saw his inexperience is when he had Fitzgerald in trouble, because, all right, he talked afterwards that it was emotional, he wanted to punish him, whatever. If you're a good finisher, you're going to go back down to the body first, as Manny said in that Mickey Ward trilogy. Go back down to the body. Yeah, he was headhunting, he was wild, he was frenzied, and Frotch, in fairness to him, with his plastic nose, it was brilliant last night on Sky. I thought during that fight he called it very honestly, and he did, and he does say a lot of stupid things as a co-commentator, but one of the things he said that was right was, like, Fowler's got to get him out of here now, or else he's going to be spent. And he was spent, and got caught with 2 lovely left hands in the last round. And I actually have Fitzgerald winning it without the knockdown, but I didn't expect him to get it. But the knockdown was just the icing on the cake, and a deserved winner and a well-worthy winner, and a good performance for him. And it was kind of funny listening to Fowler in his IFL afterwards, where he thinly veiled his insinuations of steroid PED use from Fitzgerald, because he said, you know, the interviewer was saying, no, well, he's trained for this fight, he's up for it. No, but he's trained for it. Like, he's prepared himself well. He's done it. He's done everything right for this camp. He was like, yeah, but how do you just become Superman after a 12-week camp? So you're basically just take your L, dude. Got beaten by a better fighter on the night. Go back, regroup, whatever it is. Look for the rematch. But only one winner in that fight for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on the old Carl Froch thing. I thought he was a lot better last night, and I'm going to have to play it now, Rob. You've spurred me on.
Oh, just take your plastic nose and fuck off back to Poland, you fucking prick.
There we go, old Carl Froch. What about the rest of the card, Rob? Anything of interest to you? Or you can go over to some of the other action if you want. Old Gvozdyk against Dudu and Gumbu. The leg gave out, maybe the arse gave out for old Dudu. Talk to me about Liverpool or Gvozdyk, Rob, whatever takes you fancy.
Didn't see the Dudu and Gumbu fight. I heard he pulled out with a calf injury or something, did he, against Gvozdyk?
Yes.
I saw what's his name, Ryan Garcia. I saw the knockout for that. Saw David Price versus Cash Ali. That was good. Boys had a dirty fight last night instead of a fair fight.
Do you think Cash Ali bit off more than he could chew?
Well, we can all have a push about and a pull about on the cobbles. You know what I mean? So maybe they would have been better off doing it like that. It's bizarre from Cash Ali. Like, whatever about not wanting to get knocked out by David Price. Does getting knocked out by David Price, does getting disqualified for biting David Price after wrestling him to the ground like some kind of lover man, look any better on your record than a knockout loss to David Price? I'm not sure. Like, that's the only reason I could think of that he did it, unless he genuinely just hates plumbers and he wanted to bite one. I don't know, but he got deserved pelters from the Scousers on the way out. Like, you can't fucking bite someone. Like, you know what I mean? It's just simple as that. Like, you know what I mean? Saw Glenn McCrory. I don't know if it was a parody account. I suppose it might get it. Somebody might identify it in Bellew of the week. But I saw Glenn McCrory saying, "What do you expect? It's a fucking fight." So you know, maybe there is pro biters out there. I'm not one of them. Don't know about Gvozdyk. I'm not really that bothered about Gvozdyk anyway. I think he's kind of the worst of the bunch that Aegis manages. I don't really think he's nothing really to make me kind of want to tune in. But yeah, pricey. But that was hilarious. And obviously I'm rallying heavy for the Obanov rematch now between. What's her name? What's her name? No, Natasha Jonas. Yeah. Natasha Jonas last night, obviously back with a way, so maybe we can get that Obanov rematch popping.
Some good comments in the chat here, Rob. Del Boys News said the board are taking Cash Ali's money, so no Cash Ali. And Jasper says best line on Twitter was Ali does a Tyson, so the boys are getting stuck in there.
It's fucking stuck in like him. But the strategy of the bite, he's already wrestled him to the ground. He's like, you know what, to top this off, bite on the ribs. That'll really put the coup de grace on this. Like, I don't know, hilarious.
Yeah, I think Cash Ali was maybe following in the footsteps of old Gregory Corbin last week, who was looking for a respectable or not so respectable way out against Charles Martin, decided to start hitting him with repeated low blows, same as Ali, found himself out of his depth. People react in different ways. They respond in different ways. Sure, look at when old Chukwu come on the pod, sometimes with the bright lights. Only joking, Chukwu. We do have problems, don't we? A few questions, though, have been sent in by the guys. We'll get to them very shortly. Next week is pretty bare. The cupboard is quite bare, Andy. I don't really know what to hit you with. I feel guilty asking you about some of the actual fights that are on at the moment. I'm not going to hit you with DeMarcus Corley fought over the weekend. And if you think that is a career that should end, what about a career that should never come back again? Steve Forbes returns next week in Oregon.
What?
He hasn't fought since 2014.
He
hasn't fought since 2014, Andy, and he's coming back at the age of 41, 35 wins, 14 losses against a guy who's lost 25 times in the Clackamas Armory in Oregon. We don't need to see Steve Forbes coming back, Andy. Why?
Well, if it's getting held in an armory, mate, hopefully somebody can break in and fucking just lay waste to the place because nobody wants to see that fucking fight, man. Fuck's sake.
Literally end the career of Steve Forbes.
Oh, but, as I say, the last time I saw Steve Forbes fight was it no one at Oscars? Like, was it no before Oscar fought Vargas or something like that?
Yes, that's right. It was the big cash-in, wasn't it? That was
something like that. Yeah, I think it's the last time I saw him. Fucking, right. I thought he'd retired years ago.
He did. He retired in 2014. He's coming back now. Why not?
Well, seeing you talking about weird fights, mate. What about your man David Oliver Joyce fighting in the United Arab Emirates next week?
I was going to mention this to you. He's 9-0. He's going in against 10-1 Scott Stephen Tiffany, vacant WBO European featherweight titles on the line, and then a load of other guys I've never heard of. This is going to be on ESPN
Plus. WBO European title be on the line in fucking Dubai, man. Fuck's sake.
ESPN Plus, man, you're getting some value on there.
Fucking Bob Farr needs to have a look at this shit. I mean, the WBO. I've seen another fight actually getting held, a European title fight getting held abroad. What the fuck? Hey, think about it. The WBO European, no wonder no cunt gets fucking recognised or rated by the EBU. If you win this fucking title, this is pish.
Yeah, I think if you fight for one of those fake ones, the EBU rightly don't allow you to fight for their title for so long because somebody won an IBF East-West title of some description and the EBU don't let them because we need to distinguish between them, Andy. Some of these are, the fights might not be too bad, but it's not a real European title. The EBU is the proper title.
It is the proper title, as I say. I was thinking about this again during the week there actually. Stuff. Who the fuck was I talking to? Alan Winter. I'm reading some stuff about him and stuff, and obviously he'd been talking about the traditional route, and we always bring it up. European title wins and defences always got you a top 10, top 5 ranking with WBC. It's just absolute shit. As I say, Anthony Fowler failed at WBA international level there last night, right? This is the fucking level we're talking about. Cunts can fucking come in and fight for fucking regional belts, shitty belts, and just bypass British, Commonwealth, European, OPBF, regional titles, fucking German titles, all that sort of stuff, and fight for the WBO European title in the fucking Middle East. What a time to be alive, man. On ESPN, nothing less. So there you go. You've got a European title fight, getting fought in the Middle East, getting showed by an American broadcaster. Holy fuck, man. What a time to be alive.
Yes, we asked the question in recent weeks. Is there actually too much boxing on? I think that the answer might be staring us in the eyes. As we move on, Aussie, calling for DeMarcus Corley, Steve Forbes fight of the future. That's me who's calling for that. Let's make it happen. Go over to Poland. I'm not going to ask you about the main event. Robert Parchajewski, who's fighting for the vacant Republic of Poland international super middleweight title against Dmitry Chudinov. But what about Mariusz Wach? His opponent's quite interesting. Again, the vacant Republic of Poland international title is on the line, this time of the heavyweight variety, because Aussie, he's going in against none other than Martin Bakole, Billy Nelson's charge. I'm not sure if Billy's still involved or not, but he was last seen getting beaten by Michael Hunter. He's had to go on the road now, Bakole.
I think he still is with Billy. I think he still is with Billy.
Okay.
He's in Scotland at the moment, Bakole. Well, I think a lot of us ended up with egg on our face, didn't we? We bought into the Bakole hype from Billy Nelson. And to be fair, I'd spoken to people who have seen sparring involving Bakole, and they all said the same, that the guy is a legit talent, and clearly something was up against Michael Hunter that night. And I mean, they said stuff after it that had Billy Nelson said himself, had he found out what he knew after the fight prior to it, he would have pulled Bakole out of the fight straight away. So obviously you do wonder what has been said there to Bakole, or something happened. Look, if he's as good as people say he is, from what he's performed, he'll beat Mariusz Wach. Wach is just... he's nothing special. He's just a big unit. Not a massive puncher. Decent enough chin. Yeah, that's about it, really. If Bacole's half decent, he should be too much for him. And I mean, I don't really know how Bakole can fight for this belt. Republic of Poland International Heavyweight title, whatever that means. But no, to be fair, a win against Wach will propel him and show that he does have some ability. He's only, I mean, like I said, Jarrell Miller beat him, and he came in. I think he was massive then. I think he can't have been for about 275, 280 pounds. And he had a close fight with that Artur Spilka last time out. I think it was at the back end of the year as well. So I would expect, I'll go with Bakole again. I don't see how somebody, basically all these people, can get it wrong unless he just freezes in the ring and, he just can't produce the goods. But so I'll go with Bakole again. And there's another familiar name on that card as well, Steve, actually. Andrew Robinson. He's a middleweight from Birmingham.
Yeah, that's right. He fought Frank Buglioni, didn't he?
Yeah, he's fought Mark Heffron as well. He's promoted by BCB, I think.
Errol Johnson and them boys.
Errol Johnson, yeah. So, look, he's got an opportunity out there as well against this Damien Jonak, 41-0, one draw. Can't say I've ever seen the guy fight. I don't remember him. Just on his card now. He's fought a couple of Brits, actually. Max Maxwell, Chris Carslow, Bradley Price, and then he's had a 3-year break, and then he returned to the ring last year. So who knows? Look, I can't say it'd be a big upset if Robinson does win, I presume, but it's an opportunity for him as well.
Yep, good luck to Andrew Robinson. He had an excellent ear injury in a previous fight, I seem to remember. I like the freak injuries, and he had a bad ear, so hopefully he'll go out and do a decent job. This guy sounds like he's really been feasting on the likes of Max Maxwell, who ended up with a whole pile of losses as well. So yeah, good luck to old Andrew Robinson out in Poland. If you are just joining us here, you are on episode 316 of the podcast. Rob Kelly's with us, Andy Patterson, as always, Ozzy Smith as well. The old stalwarts are on the panel here, everybody. You would have missed Umar Sadiq if you're only just joining us now. Also, Aqib Fiaz has been on. You can go and catch it back on YouTube, iTunes, all those type of places. Tumblr as well. It ends up on Podbean. Go and like and leave reviews. You find reviews all over the place. Someone was slagging off Donny in one of the reviews. Someone brought to my attention. I didn't screenshot it, but apparently it was some podcatcher, and there was a message saying that Donny was anti-Mexican, Andy, and he was slagging the Mexicans off.
Buy that man a pint for fucking saying that.
Where the hell is he anyway?
I don't think Donny's anti-Mexican, is he? I don't think he is.
That's what somebody said. Like, there you go.
Donny's a big Trump supporter, so he's anti-Mexican, MAGA.
Right, okay.
MAGA,
okay.
Baby. MAGA.
Didn't know he was a Trump supporter. I knew he was into his movies, all right. That's rare to say that on the pod before.
He's got himself engaged, so you know what the whole saying is. It's the lure of the puss,
Donny's aware building that wall, isn't he, Andy? You know,
Yeah.
he's a big
Well,
supporter.
if he's no, he's actually making a closing argument for it. Actually.
Yeah.
So it could be arguing for the next 5 years, but then push his point across. You know.
Aye, Donny's going to do some representation over on the old wall there. Right, Rob, let's go on to the questions, starting with you from Dave Knight. Listening to the pod again, says Dave. Excellent, once again, especially like Rob Kelly. He might have said, he didn't write it, but he's probably thinking that. What do you think? What do you think, Rob? What do you think about Joshua Buatsi against Isaac Chilemba? A great gatekeeper fight, maybe after Buatsi wins the European title.
Well, I could be stating the obvious.
Weights, I don't know.
Buatsi is light heavyweight, is he? No.
Chamberlain. Isaac Chamberlain used to be cruiserweight.
No, Chilemba, he's saying.
Chilemba?
Oh, Chilemba, sorry. I thought you said Chamberlain.
Yeah. No, Chilemba. Yeah, no, well, I could be stating the obvious, but let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba. You know what I mean? He's an awkward customer, Chilemba, and he's got a good chin. He can hang in there. It's actually a really good fight for Buatsi. Well, not a really good fight for him because he had hoped that he could win it, and it'd be a nightmare fight for him if he lost, but Chilemba at this stage, I think he's kind of shot one, isn't he? Like he's a gatekeeper, as he said. So yeah, it'd be a great test for him because he can hang in there and he can move a bit. He can give you angles. He can give you something different. So yeah, I think that's a good fight for him. And obviously, then you can stick around for Buatsi's post-fight interview, which is going to be more exciting than that fight probably. And that's not saying much.
Yeah, get Joe Joyce in there with him as well. Maybe Daniel Dubois. They could all jump on the mic.
Yeah, if trash talking is the future of this world, fuck me.
Yeah, I noticed last night Adam Smith, if he said it once, he must have said it about 100 times. He kept going on about respect all the time. And fair enough, yeah. You don't want people slagging each other off all the time. But he kept going on about, and there's the respect. Finally, the respect. Every single fight, one after another. There's the respect. He was like, what on earth? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, just noticed that old Adam Smith getting stuck in.
He's on rare form at the moment. He's making a lot more
videos
and stuff like so. Yeah,
I was just going to say, Rob, Bellew of the week, he might come up again.
Aye, the midnight Bobby Strangler, that one, isn't it? The wee fucking evil eye. Always keep an eye on you. It's true what you say. The big lord's got the old overseeing eye. Well, Adam Smith's got the fucking stiff one eye monster looking at you at all times, baby.
I know he made a lot of good points last night about respect between fighters, and of course that respect wasn't shown in Manchester the night of Ariana Grande. So,
well said.
No way related.
And the bomber. Remember, he didn't get that bomber tattoo because of the.
It's fucking true though. It's unbelievable. Can you imagine? What was he fucking thinking? Just thinking about. You can imagine some like EDL guys sitting in the crowd there like that cunt's got bomber tatted the fucking back of his head. That Muslim bastard. Yeah, fucking. You just see it. Pure.
He was making sure to appeal. I'm convinced at this stage he was either making sure to cater to all demographics that could be watching, or he could have just have really repressed emotions about Ariana Grande. I don't know, one or the other.
Anthony Fowler's surname is in no way related to the fact that he keeps hitting people while they're on the ground.
But Scott Fitzgerald's Tadger's very good to look at.
The respect to have for Scott Fitzgerald's Tadger.
Oh, the respect for Scott Fitzgerald's chocolate box. I love to eat that. Oh, so much.
He's worked so very hard on it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, just jumping back to the Buatsi question, that'd be a massive step up for him, that fighting the likes of like Tony Avalant, Liam Conroy Chilemba, yeah. That'd be a huge step up for him, that. It'd be one I'd welcome, though. I don't really see, unless he's going to fight Callum Johnson at light heavy, I don't see a point in him lingering around at a domestic level. He's clearly levels above that. So I think it'd be smart matchmaking. It'd be a fight he could look good in as well, potentially. He could really look good in.
One future fight, Aussie, that we would like to see Boatsi in, but he's probably not going to end up because of promotional differences and what have you, is the Anthony Yarde fight. And Men's Luxury Fitness has perfectly brought us down another pass regarding Anthony Yarde. So I'll ask you this one. He said that if Yarde doesn't spar, then how will he take the shots of Kovalev to the arms, let alone the head and the body? That's part of why you have to spar, to be used to the impact. I think, says Men's Luxury Fitness, he might shut down within 3 or 4 rounds, but I would like to see what you guys have to say. Kovalev is a very, very good boxer, remember? And if he was shot to bits, he wouldn't have won that rematch against Elader Alvarez. What about this Yarde situation? Doesn't do much sparring, apparently.
I don't know. I know that there's been a reluctance to have quality sparring in terms of, against the better fighters coming in with him. In terms of the amount of rounds, I don't really know. But yes, of course, it's going to have an impact. You can do as much conditioning as you want, but you can't replace, getting the rounds under your belt from sparring, because like you say, it's preparation for you. You can be as fit as anything, but there's levels in terms of the amount of sparring you can do. And yeah, I mean, look, it's 16-ounce gloves and things like that, so it is different. You wear head guards, etc. However, it will help. And if he doesn't do a lot of sparring, then look, it's worked for him now, but you will ultimately be exposed when you step up to the higher levels. And good luck to him. If he goes in from fighting the people he's been in with to Sergei Kovalev next, fair play to him, because it's a massive, massive step up. But like I say, they clearly see something if they're willing to jump in from this perspective, unless it's a massive cash out and he basically won't fight again after it. And they're just looking to get him a payday, and that's him done. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you steer him away from certain fighters and, go the way they have to then throw him in with Kovalev? It seems it's weird. It's an odd situation.
Is that fight? Sorry, man. Is that fight made now, or is it just they're still talking about it as it go to purse bids, or what's the crack?
They're in the negotiation stage, and I think it goes to purse bids in probably 2 weeks.
Right. Okay.
I think some offers have been made already, 2 and 4 for the fight to happen in Russia and in the UK, and everything's been rejected so far. So I think it'll happen in the. I think it will go to purse bids. But if Yarde withdraws because, say, if they lose the purse bid and it has to happen in Russia or America, if he withdraws from that fight, he should not be allowed to enter the world rankings of the WBO for 12 to 2 years. 12 months to 2 years as a punishment.
I think it said it all in the statement from Ajay that we covered last week when he said that he's the A side. I mean, I think you could be onto something there with the sparring and the why they've obviously seen something in him that they're keeping him away from quality sparring. And you have to spar, and his physique looks like he's made all wrong for a fighter, even though he's in great shape. For a fella light heavyweight, he seems to be like he's carrying a lot of muscle. So maybe he's got problems going around or whatever. But I thought it said a lot when he came out and said straight away, we're the A side. And if we're not taking that fight, if it's in America, so they've nailed their flag to the mast on that one. I can't see that fight happening.
Yeah, you're not the only one. JG, Aussie says that he doesn't think it'll happen either.
Well, if I was just going to say, if it doesn't happen, where do you honestly go with him? What's the point in persisting with these rankings if you then withdraw from being a mandatory? What's the point? Like, what is the point in his career? Like I say, I still maintain of the light heavyweights at the domestic level, he has the best win in Sejloka, who was coming off a draw for the European title. Burton's not beating anybody of that level. I put Johnson ahead of domestic level. Sejloka I will take to beat Liam Conroy. So it's a really odd one. It's an odd situation. Look, we can only wait and see, can't we? We can only wait and see, and we can discuss it more. That one, if a deal is made, or if it does go to purse bids and the outcome then, and if he decides to withdraw, then look, I think people won't want to watch him, because what's the point? Because he'll just be known as the fighter that ducks out of a challenge, getting to when there's somebody who can punch him back, or he will get applauded because he will travel and go to Russia or America, or BT and Frank will win the purse bid and Kovalev will again come to the UK. And we know what happened the last time he was in the UK and fought a Frank Warren fighter. He absolutely destroyed Nathan Cleverly.
Yes, if it happens, I think it'll happen in the UK. I'm not sure if it will happen, but there's severe credibility issues for Yarde if it doesn't, as Ozzy says. What's the point? I'm intrigued by that fight. I do genuinely believe that Kovalev's going to blast him out, and I think everything that everybody sees about Yarde is correct. But I'm just intrigued. Maybe Yarde will just produce something that we're just not expecting. I would like to see it. Would be very interested to see that fight.
I agree. It is intriguing. I think because there's so many questions that need answers to in regards to Anthony Yarde.
Yeah.
It is intriguing, and like I say, he's been guided this way against certain calibers of opponents and things like that. To then throw him in with Kovalev, they must fancy this fight if they've allowed him to. Because look, Frank can pull the strings with the WBO. He could have put him off this mandatory for the next 18 months. And if Kovalev eventually retires, he could have got him in for a vacant title. They must see something in Kovalev where they think our guy Anthony Yarde can beat Sergei Kovalev with the experience he's got. Otherwise, it's just a charade and a con if they're going to withdraw him.
Indeed, yes. So moving on then, Babs has been in touch. He's alerted me to a tweet from Dr. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD. Joseph has laid down the gauntlet to Bob Arum, the Bob father himself. Mr. Arum, says Joseph, don't be deceived. Anthony Joshua is not coming to the ring to play bingo game. If you are so sure, I am prepared to bet $10,000 on that bout, says the doctor. Deontay is not a boxer. He is a street fighter. A boxer with boxing fundamentals will take him out effortlessly. So Babs has alerted me to the doctor laying down $10,000 bet gauntlets to old Bob Arum. Will Bob Arum accept? Who knows? Let's go back in time, Andy. I mentioned this question earlier from Darren Cope. I know that you are excited about this era as much as I was. Old Felix Trinidad won the IBF welterweight title in the early 90s, 93 against Maurice Blocker. So Darren Cope, let's just repeat his question briefly. With Trinidad being 41-1 when he fought Winky Wright, 15 defences at welterweight over a 6-year reign, 3-weight world champion, had only lost to B Hop and beating 3 gold medalists. Where does he sit in the all-time welterweight list? And of his generation, I'm not a great one on the old lists. You're better at that than me, Andy. But just looking down the welterweight, refreshing my memory, I became a big fan of boxing around the year 2000 or so. So I hadn't witnessed his fights against the likes of Hector Camacho in '94. Yuri Boy Campos was 56-0 when Felix Trinidad knocked him out. Felix Trinidad just knocked people out for fun. Then over in Mexico, knocked out the excellent, underrated Oba Carr, who was 32-0. Went on another run, the likes of Freddie Pendleton. He was pretty done. Kevin Lushing, I think, knocked down Trinidad, and then Trinidad came back to beat him. He then beat Pernell Whitaker. Got the win over Oscar De La Hoya. Controversial, but there you go. Moved up, obviously, to super welter to fight the likes of David Reed and Vargas. But how are we looking at welterweight, Andy? Top of my head, Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray, Henry Armstrong, Barney Ross, welterweight, wasn't he? Those type of guys.
Yeah, I would need to actually sit and think.
Yeah,
to a degree as to where I would rank him as a welterweight. I would think maybe top 30, 40 isn't he kind of far off the mark. I mean, I would say his top signature wins at the weight I would probably need to say was Oscar, which had a draw, but the fight was where it was. Oscar threw it away, in my opinion, even though I had a draw. Oscar, everybody knows this. Vargas, I think a 12-round stoppage, and the UD win over Pernell Whitaker and stuff. I think he had 15 defences. Numerous. It was quite a high defence record anyway. One of the titles that he held for a while, over a good span actually. I forget how many years. A good 5 or 6 years. But even as an amateur in that, coming through, he won national championships, 5 years hard running at 5 different weights. That's something else. One of the great finishers in boxing history, in my opinion. Carried his power for like 147 all the way up to 160. I mean, look what he did to William Joppy before he beat Hopkins. Before he fought Hopkins, sorry. You know, he made Joppy just look like he was an amateur. You know, he couldn't hold a punch, but it looks at you know.
They were salivating over him that night, weren't they? Every time he hit Joppy was just hurt. And I remember Larry Merchant and George Foreman were like, "This is amazing!" And that was why Trinidad was a favourite, obviously, against
pure Bambi on ice, mate. He was all over the place. You know, I remember Morris Bloch being a decent fighter back in the day. He defeated him. You know, as I says, everything obviously then kind of like stemmed off it. Obviously, he beats Whittaker and Oscar in the same year. I think I'm right in saying that. David Reed,
99, yeah. Plus a 36 and one fighter in Hugo Pineda sandwiched in between.
Right. I mean, David Reed as well. Was he an Olympic champion?
Yes, Reed was up at light middle, and so was Vargas. You see, that was at the next weight. So,
right.
You know, yeah.
Right. So, in the day, it's the one thing, you know, you want to see a fighter who goes up in weight. Can the power carry up? It did with him. You know, he stops Vargas. He stops, like I said, David. No, who's his name? Joppy, sorry. Obviously, he went out and lost to Oscar, etc. But I don't know if we could put a lot of stock into the Mayorga win. You know, he lost to Winky Wright and Roy Jones. It was the last two fights of his career and stuff. But I think he was more like kind of fighting for the money at that point. But if we're talking, like say opponents wise, welterweight wise, I don't think we can like name them top 15, top 20. I think 30, 40, 50 is more conservative. I'm more to listen to any other debates and any other opinions on it, obviously. But I think other than like the Whittaker and Oscar wins at welterweight, there wasn't many unification fights. Obviously apart from the Oscar fight, but I think that fight actually would have been for the lineal title as well at one point. I'm sure I'd be right in saying that, but yeah, I think we've got to we need to break down his resume at 147. But I don't think if we break it down to a degree, it's not going to be very high. But it's not a knock on him because what he did over the course of his career was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's what you want to see. A fighter who's dominant at welterweight, as I say, he was dominant for a number of years. Knockout galore, great finisher. Stepped up in weight, and you can't knock him. Okay, he lost to Hopkins, which was an emotionally charged fight, I suppose, after what happened in America a few weeks beforehand. I just don't think you can actually knock him. I mean, the crowd that night, you know, it was, as I say, an emotionally charged atmosphere, but to be absolutely ripping the Puerto Ricans, that place was jumping. They came out there with the fireman's hat on, paying homage to the firefighters that lost their lives at 9/11 and stuff, and you know, everybody they just drank it in. And
Hopkins had thrown the flag down, everything, hadn't they?
Hopkins was like mind games. That guy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, he's just there's sometimes you just can't do. People's flags, especially Latin America, for example, you didn't pick up their flags and throw it to the ground like that. Hopkins done it. Hopkins put money on himself. It was one of the like. Hopkins is one of his greatest victories, actually. But people shit on it because he's a welterweight coming up. But Trinidad at that point was one of the great fighters at that point.
And the manner of the way Hopkins boxed as well. He dissected him, didn't they?
Hopkins was the underdog as well, wasn't he? Big time.
Yeah, he was. And he broke him down play by play. I mean, I've looked at the scorecards to hand, but I dare say, I think if you look at the scorecards of that fight, in my opinion, I think they'd be very, very wide to Hopkins.
He was schooling him, yeah.
Dominant.
Schooling him up to the stop. He was schooling him up to the stop. He's just beating him in every department. It's definitely one of B-Hop's best performances at middleweight, even though it was against a blown-up welter. But Hopkins, I think, always believed that he was going to beat Trinidad pretty easily. And he gave him a clinic, definitely gave him a clinic.
See for the year, like I said, but probably around about 99 to 2001, I think I'm right in saying that. I think that is the peak of Trinidad's, like say, his popularity. I mean, he beat Oscar, he beat Whittaker, he beat Joppy, he's going in there to fight Hopkins and stuff like that. I mean, if he beat Hopkins, you're talking about, what could he have went on to then have fought, it's just, it would have been something else. But no, it was one of Hopkins' greatest wins. But I think the question is, Billy, am I right in saying, Steve, purely based on the welterweight resume? We need
on his welterweight, and then he's standing within the welterweight division over time,
Yeah, so I think it's got to be like top 30, 40, 50 mark. But if you're talking about his whole career, man, I could be here all day talking about it because he was a special fighter.
Just bringing you in on this, Rob. I was saying about the left hook. It was his vaunted left hook. Once he had you on the hook, he was such a great finisher. And Hopkins took away that left hook in that fight, didn't he?
Yep. And as well as that, I think people forget, new fans to the sport kind of forget or don't know how good Hopkins was at middleweight.
Yeah,
I mean,
early doors was amazing.
Yeah, they're rating him on the Roy Jones fight where he was a bit green, and Jones was just Jones at that time. He just clearly outboxed him. But then if you look at the run he went on as middleweight champion, even some of the Robert Allen fights, like he broke one of the Robert Allen fights. He absolutely broke the guy down, beat the life out of some of the guys. And a lot of the fighters that he fought and beat, even over distance, were never the same again. So I don't think there's any great shame in Trinidad losing to Hopkins. He just got beaten by a great middleweight that night.
I would implore anybody who's actually never seen Hopkins' like middleweight career coming up, like from the very, very start, I recommend it very highly to you to go and watch it, because I didn't want people talking to me about Bernard Hopkins, about this cagey, cautious fighter who doesn't who throws less and 15 punches around and stuff like that. Go watch Hopkins as he's coming up through the ranks. I guarantee you'd be a fan instantly, because it made me just change my whole perspective on Hopkins' career when I went back and actually watched him coming up. Tremendous fighter.
Yes, good points made by the guys there on Hopkins as well. He could be an exciting fight too if you look at the likes of the Mercado fight, and also, as Rob mentioned, Hopkins was beating guys like Robert Allen and Keith Holmes, these type of fellas who were world champions, belt holders within their own right, and he was just picking them off, one by one. So fair play to him, excellent fighter. Before we go on to Belly of the Weeks, Rob, question coming for you from hard-hitting fan on the Facebook page, Connor Brennan. It's quite a long one, so bear with me, Rob. Connor says, my friend Dennis Hogan has flown out to LA to get ready for his fight with Jaime Munguia in Monterrey in a couple of weeks. Dennis was an Australian middleweight champion, but has dropped down to light middle for the last couple of years, so he isn't a small 154-pounder by any stretch of the imagination. But what do you guys make of the size of Munguia? I was wondering, said Connor, if you guys could discuss at some point before the fight how some of these Mexican fighters like Margarito and Chavez are miraculously able to get down to a weight and come in 20 pounds heavier the next day. Is there a possibility that Munguia could be using diuretics to achieve his advantage in the ring? And if so, do you think there is an issue in Mexican boxing, as they tend to all rehydrate up massive after the weigh-in? Or do the panel reckon that Munguia, being Oscar's new up-and-comer to replace Canelo, is too high profile to be messing with that stuck and is just a natural freak of nature?
I don't know. I think in boxing, I don't think you can limit it just to Mexico. I think in boxing across the board now, you have to have suspicions about guys. Errol Spence is another one who I don't want to keep banging on about it, because I don't want to detract from Errol Spence being a good fighter. He hasn't tested for anything to this point. But Munguia, to me, looks like a 168-pounder fighting as a 154-pounder. So you would have, and he's got a big frame too. It's not like a tall, rangy, like a Paul Williams or a Thomas Hearns type frame where you can understand how to get down the weight. He is a big lump of a guy. So I don't know. I mean, is it just Mexico or is it worldwide boxing that's endemic with PEDs at the moment? You have to point fingers at the Eastern European fighters as well, and the American fighters and the British fighters. They've all got elements of suspicion around them. You've heard Big Baby Miller throw accusations of therapeutic use exemptions to AJ for testosterone. And we haven't heard about that. If that's just something that's going around the fight world that they know about that has been completely covered up, you'd have to raise suspicions there about AJ too. So I really don't know if it's limited to Mexico, but yeah, obviously it's something that you have to consider. And Dennis Hogan has his work cut out against him against Munguia. He wanted to be a big 160 to face this guy anyway, because Munguia, let's not forget, was turned down by the commission, I think, but he was lined up for Golovkin's replacement opponent for Canelo fight at one stage, so you could definitely see him campaigning at 60. In fact, I'm amazed that he can still make 154, so a big lump of a guy.
Yes, High God Plodder in the chat says Hurd versus Munguia, battle of the weight bullies. And Conor Brennan, who asked the question there as well, went on to say his favourite on the panel is Andy. He always tells it true. So a shout out to you, Andy, from Conor Brennan there. Okay, final question of the week to you, Ozzy, who's back with us. It's from our friend Sam over at Against the Ropes Boxing. Go over and give them a follow. Sam has asked you, Ozzy, he said, I have a wonderful question for the pod this week. If you could make a human centipede out of people in boxing, who would you put at the front, the middle and the rear? And of course, what would you feed it? So come on, Ozzy. We've got Dave Allen shoved in there somewhere, I'm sure. He was ringside last night.
What? Wow. I haven't got a clue. In what? So I'm guessing it's just people that we dislike then.
Yes, shove them in. Come on, Dave Allen's one.
Yeah, we've got to get Tony Fowler in there too. Prince Patel, Adrian Broner.
Oh yes.
Adam Smith. Adam Smith.
Put him at the rear.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'd be a fan of being there as well.
Keep your eye in your head at all times, and he's coming up behind you.
Yeah.
We could feed it David Price. Cash Ali's already started on him. We might as well finish the job.
Yeah, we might as well.
You can call it the very brave centipede.
Who else is there? I'm trying to think who I really dislike. So we got Broner, Patel, Adam Smith, Anthony Fowler, Dave Allen, and let's see if we can get one more in.
While you think, Ozzy, the chat are getting stuck in here. MB says Bunsey at the front after a Ruby. Jane Johnson says Tyrone Booth could feed the Mecco Falls. So,
sexually, that's the main thing.
Tyrone Booth's amusing. His videos genuinely make me laugh.
I just noticed he follows me on
brilliant.
Twitter, by the way. He follows me on Twitter, so I must be doing something right in this life.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
Bellew, without a doubt. Yeah, Tony Bellew.
Tony.
Johnny Nelson.
Tony
a lot of them are throwing Johnny Nelson in the chat here.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've just seen one come in then.
Lord Nelson.
We're going a bit outside the. He's not a fighter. He's a con man, and he's a thief. Cut and paste. Mickey Benson. So yeah, SKC in the chat. Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
we can definitely sandwich Mickey Benson in with probably close to Adam Smith, really.
Editing King says O'Hara Davis, Prince Patel and Ryan Garcia, so he's shoving them in. AKA Skins says Del Boys Boxing News. Carl Froch and Bellew says AA Boxing and Blunts. We're filling this up rightly here with all these. Like, what about Saul Farrow? We could chuck him in. All his 300 pounds of bulk would keep the centipede going for a while.
Tell you what, Operation Cruiserweight, there'll be some things coming out of Saul Farrow as well, so he'd be a horrendous lot to have in the food.
Oh dear, how do we get these questions? Thank you anyway to Sam, for throwing that in. If you're listening later on YouTube or on Twitter, throw us in who you would push into the human centipede. Anybody else want to throw in there before we move on to Bellew of the Weeks? Doesn't sound like it.
Jane Johnson has thrown in Dr. Hitman, Artif Daniel.
Oh yeah, could throw him in.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. He's a fan of an RBO. Sanctioned by the RBL, so yeah, let's get him in there.
Let's get him in there. Sam Jones as well, and the three commentators, says Editing King, as we move on to Bellew of the Weeks. Before we close up for another evening, everybody, quite a few nominations. Let's get through them as quickly as we can. First one is from Clever Sithole, early contender for Bellew of the Week. He sent it to me last week. Taken a day ago, we can see Big Daddy Brown is taking his training seriously. Sitting in the cinema, look at the size of that drink and popcorn. He'll roll over and the casuals will call for a Pappy pay-per-view title shot. Can see it now, says Clever Sithole. Andrew G threw this in from Chris Eubank Jr. Someone had a tattoo of Chris Eubank Jr. Naturally, why wouldn't you? On his arm. My nose is a bit big, but A for effort, says Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah, wouldn't be giving him an A. It looks more like Javonta Davis. Why on earth would anybody have Chris Eubank Jr. tattooed on their arm? People do realise, Andy, that tattoos are like for life. You know the way you see people getting these tattoos put on their arms? I mean, it's sort of like a permanent thing, isn't it? I mean, would you have Chris Eubank Jr. tattooed on your head?
I'm afraid neither was, mate, but I remember this. There was this guy called Kimmin, right, for my local village. And I used to hate Doberman dogs because they were always associated with these spectacular tattooed fuckwits. And fucking Kimmin had all these. He had tattoos on his earlobes. And I always remember this, by the way. I was just saying to myself, why? He was a drug addict, alcoholic, but he always fucking found money to fucking put tattoos on his body, man. I have fucking no idea. They're fucking horrible things to have. Fuck's sake.
Do you not like Sam Eggington's, Andy? You're not a fan of like the sort of the scorpion on the neck? Looks great.
Nah, not a big fan of that. But I had to be a bit concerned for Barry Hearn there last night. That was his love child getting fucked up, big style, you know. So where was Barry? You know, is Barry going to be taking him back to the steam house for a wee bit of a cuddle and a kiss? You know.
See if you're a professional fighter or a footballer and all that, like where you're not going to like have to be gainfully employed. I can kind of understand how they make the tattoo choices, but you see these kids 19, they're like, do you know what I need right now? Good tattoo on the neck. Good neck. Good neck tattoo to drop my employment chances for the future. You know what I mean?
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because you need people like this in your workplace these days, Rob. You need these people who are different ways of looking and thinking.
Give it to Scott at the photocopier there. Which one is Scott? The guy with the fucking no regrets neck tattoo. Only God can judge me on his eyelids. Yeah, all right.
He's got love hate tattooed on his knuckles and stuff, you know.
The tear, the ball still drops under his eye.
He Popeye tattoo on his forearm and that as well, you know. I eat my spinach, bitches.
Boop, boop.
I used to work with a fella and he had hinges tattooed like on the insides of his, you know, is that where his arm meets the forearm? Like he had like a pair of hinges. I don't know.
The best one I ever saw was my mate who got a fucking barcode tattooed on his neck. What a fud, man. And he's got his date of birth and he's got made in Great Britain below it. I was like, what? I wouldn't even fucking import you, never even fucking deport you cunt. What a saddle.
But a bird came up to me at a show one time and she was like, I have your name tattooed on my eyes. I was like, what? She's taking a bit far, like, so when I looked, like, it just had the words your name. Didn't actually have Rob Kelly. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest with you.
I thought you were going to say Rob she had R on one arse cheek and B on the other.
I tell you what I did there, actually. I went in at my dad's. I went in at my dad's house the other day and I actually pinned a thing on his bed, on his bathroom door, and that just like as single letters and numbers 4U2P. So number 4, number 2, the letter U and the letter P, you know, so
down with the kids, there we go.
Yeah,
if anyone wants to have a QR code tattooed on their forehead, let us know and send it in to us. So there you go. Good tattoo chat there.
I could get Azerbaijan tattooed on my cock. It's that big, by the way. Well, you need to remember it, you know. In bold.
Right. Matthew Pratt has nominated Max. Max said Manny Pacquiao is one of the most overrated boxers of all time. He only has a straight left hand. He has no other tools. Bad footwork, everybody. Can't cut off the ring. All his flaws are highlighted when he fights a boxer and counter-puncher.
Oh, my God.
Can we find out before we go on to that, can Andy fit you know that big word that he was trying to pronounce?
The Welsh train station, Andy.
What have I done? I messed up. What have I try?
I said, can you tattoo that word that Benny was saying in the Benny of the week? Go. I thought you said that's Welsh train station. Oh,
I maybe need to stretch it onto my German helmet a wee bit though, maybe up to the Jap's eye, you know.
Oh dear. Moving on, another nomination. It's a tattoo nomination, everybody. We've had another one from Joe Kelly here for the guy who had Tyson Fury tattooed on his arm. Humbling, says Tyson, when people show me things like this and tell me how I've helped, we keep moving forward. And a guy is there flexing his muscles, showing a Tyson Fury tattoo. He asked for a tattoo of Tyson Fury, says Joe Kelly, and he got a tattoo of Denis Lebedev. I'll retweet it. It does look like Denis Lebedev.
I said to my missus tonight, she has small star tattoos on her elbow, and she obviously regrets them. She got them when she was 19. She was like, I want to get these covered up. I was like, well, if you get them covered up, you're going to need another fucking tattoo on your arm. Like, you don't want a tattoo, you should just get them removed. Like, but if you are going to get a cover up, you should get a picture of Tyson Fury on your arm to remind yourself when things get bad, never give up. You want to see the look?
There you are. Get a tattoo of Dr. Joseph Ajayo on my back maybe one day, you never know. Dave Knight has nominated Sam Dorsey.
Or Gemma Collins.
Yeah, but she was the young lady who fell on the ice, I believe, Robert.
She was.
Fell on the ice. Fuck me, man. Sure, great tsunami. She fucking landed.
Never give up.
Never get up.
You need a cycle area to get a tattoo of Gemma Collins.
Oh my word, man! What a fucking creature that is now. Seriously though, seriously. You see me 10 pints of all Stella in you, by the way, and fucking 14 halves of all fucking Jamesons or Bushmills. What's your walking for that matter? Would you? Still, if you could get it up, would you?
Andy, you've asked this question before, so I think you've got a.
I would.
No chance. No chance. I'd be in the hospital if I was after drinking that much anyway. There'd be no chance. I'd be
Well,
over there on a drip.
To be honest, I've actually proven people who listen to this podcast will be able to attest that I can fucking drink my body weight. But
Can you drink her body weight?
that's a challenge, mate. I'll put it this way: I couldn't find her find out my lager and drink it anyway. Put it that way. If you put a straw in there, I'll have a fucking good go at it, mind you.
Well, that was the question we were all wanting the answer to anyway. I think that was.
Oh dear, the value of the week, say. Yeah, Dave Knight has nominated Sam Dorset, but Sam is a listener of the show, so I believe he was trolling with his comments. Sky Sports had Shannon the Cannon Briggs on this week. He's still a thing. Long memory.
Actually.
Well, here, Shannon the Cannon wants a fight with Derek Chisora. He hasn't forgotten what Derek Chisora said about him in the past, and he wants to settle it in the ring, says Shannon Briggs, so he's trying to call out Chisora now. Boxing Bet Guru said, prime value of the week. Why not put Ray Mercer versus Oliver McCall on there too? Heavyweight Boxing Bonanza, sponsored by Sun Life Direct. Well, what he doesn't know is Oliver McCall's back, and so is Sam Peter. So you never know. Could happen. Jazz Paul put up a picture of Anthony Joshua that he didn't draw. Turbo Tommy nominated him for that. What else have we got on the old list this week? Cocaine Dawkins has nominated Clarissa Shields. Got blocked by Clarissa Shields for this tweet because she was saying Kubrat Pulev should be charged with sexual assault. And that leads me to one I haven't got screenshotted, but this young, is it Jenny Sushi or whatever you call her? She's been up to no good as well. Kubrat he got involved, didn't he? She tried to sue him, and these videos came out. So she was nominated, but I forgot to screenshot it. So there you go. She's also on the list. Talking of lists,
I don't think that's fair to nominate her, man. I don't really think that's fair. You can't grab a girl and kiss her. And obviously, when she was given a member of Pulev's entourage a lap dance 2 yards in front of him, it dawned on her how distraught she was about the whole thing, and now she deservedly is looking for her paycheck.
There you go then. Rob's endorsed that one.
Sushi's not even her real second name, by the way. She's called Jenny Sushi because she specializes in naked sushi. Not making any assumptions about her character.
No assumptions made by Robert there.
Yeah, but of course she didn't have her breasts out and just like jiggling about like the double D's that they are, baby, for anybody motorboat these bitches, you know.
She's been nominated. I'm merely the medium here, everybody. Or litigation to Ben Wiseman Industries through the office to the desk of.
She's not getting any fucking coin out of my band, Kubrat Pulev. I mean, he's a fucking jippo. How is she gonna get cash out of him? He just fucking he just gets up and moves on to somewhere else and stuff. She's fucked. She's fucked herself.
Well, she's not going to sue us, but there's some word coming through here again, Andy. Maybe we'll get fooled like we did last week. Josh Foster has put R.I.P. Dan Raphael. A truly enormous loss to the boxing world. Dan Raphael has passed away again for the second time in 2 weeks.
That's a shame. That's all I can say.
There you go, Dan. Brian King has nominated Lukey Boxing for his pound-for-pound list. Brian King has also nominated Babs, who said Gervonta Davis and Teofimo Lopez would both beat Lomachenko in the next 12 months. That was off the back of Tom Crazy's Tell Me Something Controversial, one of those type of tweets. Brian's also nominated Eddie Hearn, as Tyan Booth would say, trying to be too entertaining. I think he was doing some kind of a rap or something. I didn't even watch it, to be honest. But there you go. Jay King has nominated Amir Khan. I'd also be undefeated if I fought Crawford's opponent, says Amir. Khan forgetting he got iced by Prescott, says Jay King. Belly of the week. Creepy Adam Smith has been nominated by Turbo Tommy. Andy, you've nominated Eddie. Eddie Hearn says Lomachenko is not dangerous. Keeps it 100, whatever that means, on Croller's tough chance of a lifetime. That one's coming up pretty soon. Box Royalty has nominated the PBC for wishing a happy birthday. Time flies. It's Luis Ortiz's 40th birthday again. He's 40 this week, so congratulations to him. Box Royalty has also nominated... I've cut the screenshot off. Someone saying that Canelo is the best defensive fighter ever? ? I'm not sure who asked that question. We'll try and find out. Battered Onion Rings, who is Smiggers Titties, has nominated Tunji Legend, who was writing a little Shades of Ali poem about Cash Ali. Brian King has nominated Ryan Scalia. The Takeover, hashtag TFEMO Express. Also, Fight Ghost for talking about DAZN. Plenty from Brian as usual. Sam Jones, unpopular opinion, Anthony Yarde will beat Kovalev. And if you're British and wanting Yarde to lose, you can unfollow me because you're an idiot, says Sam Jones. There you go. Get unfollowing him. I think he... Is Sam Jones...
That's
Joe
Joyce's manager or something like that, aye.
Unfollow him, Andy, if you think that...
I fucking don't even... Listen, mate, last night was about the first time in about 4 or 5 months that I watched an IFL interview, and guess who it was about?
Go on.
Well, I'm asking you.
I don't know, AJ or...
Yeah,
something.
it was actually Scott Cardle, actually, you know.
There you are. Get Scott Cardle tattooed on your neck. That'll go down well. Fowler, calling it Flash Knockdown, nominated by Andy. Brian King nominated Richie, going on about if Fowler was going to the top. Also, Michael Montero, people will bitch, but he's defending Triple G's possible fight with Brandon Adams. Dear me, they can't really sell that, can they? Master Knowledge is trying to sell something to us as well. Behave yourself with that Canelo nonsense about being the greatest defensive fighter of all time. Vasyl Lomachenko and Tevin Farmer, I would rank them above Canelo defensively. Not sure about Tevin Farmer, but there you go. The Master Knowledge has spoken. Paco, Fowler easily wins Bellew of the Week, saying he gave Fitz the knockdown and that it was only a flash knockdown. The referee gave him nearly 25 seconds to recover too. Hashtag plank, says Paco. Zico, thanks for that, Andy, has nominated David Diamante. We have 2 undefeated fighters and we will nix a nil, said David Diamante. Rolls off the tongue there, doesn't he? David Farmer has nominated the PBC as well. Luis Ortiz is at least 65. He's not happy with the 40th birthday celebrations. That's all the ones I've got for the time being, gentlemen. Seems like Anthony Fowler is a pretty solid front runner. Adam Smith as well. A few for Eddie Hearn. Quite a few, Andy. What about you? Who are you throwing in?
Did you get the one about Ray Mercer, Oliver McCall and that, yeah?
I certainly did, yes. That one was read out. Yep.
Other than that, I don't think I've got anything else to add. Other than I wish to vote for Mr. Tony Fowler.
Tony Fowler, there you go. I'm going to second that one. So that's 2 for Tony. So we're down to Ozzy and then Rob. Ozzy, in fact, have you got any nominations? And if not, tell us who you're going for.
Well, I've got one, and it was a video of Adam Smith being caught staring at Scott Fitzgerald with after the weigh-in. And he turned around and just had this smug grin. It was on a boxing social video at the weigh-in. It was when Fitzgerald had just come off the scales. He just had a towel basically covering barely anything. And Adam Smith was just staring at him and followed him.
Oh, but you're missing something there, Ozzy. You're missing something out. You can see Scott Fitzgerald looking down at his bobby saying, "Come on, big man. Come on. Get hard. Come on. Get hard. Come on."
Well, he was doing exactly that. And,
exactly, of course he was.
And Adam Smith took great excitement to that. So, whilst I'm not voting
under my overcoat, dangling free.
Who's more dangerous, Ozzy? Adam Sky Smith or Adam Smith?
Something for you to see.
In what situation, Steve?
I don't know. You pick the situation.
I'll probably go for the spin doctor, Adam Sky Smith. Who dangerous in any sort of situation, in my opinion. So yeah, the spin doctor. But in terms of the vote for this week, it's got to be
Tony.
He suffered an L on Saturday night, but he can have a W on Sunday night for the Bellew of the Week.
Listen, I'm going to step in here, Steve. I'm actually starting to, I actually forgot about Adam Smith there. I think purely because we all pretty much predicted that Fowler was going to win last week, and he got beat, and it was glorious, and everybody rejoiced. Muslims celebrated with Jews, the Protestants and the Catholics came together. It was fantastic. We were all united as one people. The whole world was united, linked hand in hand, as Anthony Fowler took his L there last night. However, if Anthony Fowler had not taken that L there last night, we could just guarantee that Adam Creepo fucking Smith would be taking this Bellew of the Week award home this week. So I think we should create the WBA regular title award this week because we've got to. We've got to. Come on.
I'm kind of torn. Like, I haven't got any nominations, but I'm kind of torn between Fowler and Smith. And speaking of Protestants and Catholics coming together. Andy, who do you think has a better chin, Fowler or Scott Brown?
Anthony Fowler.
Broody.
Anthony Fowler, because imagine Scott Brown getting dropped off a fucking 4-foot fucking goth, by the way, for fuck's sake. And who start getting dropped twice in one match?
Dropped by a buffalo, man.
Exactly. What a fucking bitch. So
yeah, I don't know. I think Adam, just the way he looked at the camera, and he held that stare in the other direction a bit too long before he realised the camera was on him. So it was kind of like an admission of guilt. Not that he's admitting to any guilt to the bombing in Manchester, which is no way related to the terror attacks tonight of Ariana Grande.
That bastard.
Shout out in the chat, gentlemen. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sure you'll be happy when you hear that we have a sighting of Jason Chukwu. He's shitting on Aussie. Aussie makes shit predictions, says Chukwu. Picked Farrell over Bowes and asking over a Coley. Shout out to Jason Chukwu. Aussie, do you want to write to reply?
When I'm tipping up people like David Avanesian at 6-1, I'll happily take an L on a 50-50 fight between Farrell and Bowes to come out with a 6-1 shot in Avanesian.
All I'm saying is, if you want to go through my prediction L's, Chukwu, you'd be there all night writing them out. That's all I'm saying.
Back in your box now.
There you go. Right. So it's we're going for Anthony Fowler then Andy, and a special mention WBA style to old Guy Smith.
I insist on that, mate. I've got to insist.
There you go. Andy has made an insistence, everybody. Happy to go.
Can we get a bonus Patreon sanctioning fee for the regular title? I'm sure Rob Kelly will be a fan of that. If we can get any bonus cash coming in, what do you think to that, Rob?
Rob's not happy.
Yeah, I'm all for the money. That's what we're in it for. We're prize fighting commentators, so we're in it for the prize. So yeah, as much sanctioning fees as we can get. I actually think if we were a sanctioning body, we'd probably do a lot better than some of the ones that are getting the major money. So maybe there's a future in that for us.
Chukwu has reappeared. He says, the Asylum was wanking into oblivion when Fowler lost. He says it's like it's a bad thing.
Exactly. I mean, I was firing salt by the end of the fucking night, by the way.
He says it like we wouldn't be doing it anyway.
I was going to do it anyway. Listen, she half 11 last night, by I powered through a fucking semi, by the way. I was sweating. I was like, come on. I was like, you see me, you're 15, by the way. You were like, you could have come, but you were like, you kept going anyway because you're like, if I didn't come, I'm not going to come again. Come on. Don't be like that. You're fucking forcing it through. But I was like, fucking dreaming. I had to go in still shots and everything, by the way. Got there in the end, though.
There you go. Andy got up fit in the end, everybody. Just finished himself off for the IFL video this morning.
Listen, can I also nominate Jenny Shushu for the interim title this weekend as well, by so we've got
she can have the women's title.
Yep, Anthony Fowler for the super title. We'll give Adam Smith the regular title, and we'll give Shushu shine my helmet. Fucking
Suhi as the guru labelled her, Jenny Suhi.
Fucking shine my fucking prick, man. Fuck's sake.
There we go. Let's finish off, everybody. Congratulations to everybody. I can't even remember who's won now, but well done to you all. Evening, lads. Says nothing for something. Well, good evening to you, sir. We're going now. Thank you to everybody who's jumped on tonight. No, Dave the Hater back and forth. Fortunately, he was granny sitting. Shout out to Rob Kelly for coming on now. Andy Patterson,
Steve, that was a granny that I wanted kicked down the stairs.
That's right. Yeah. She's still going strong.
He just posted a picture to me on my phone there. Actually, here's my granny you wanted to kill by. Like that.
Surprised Shannon Biggs hasn't called her out yet.
I know.
There you go. And also to our guests, everybody, we had Umar Sadiq was on. He's going places. And our second guest, Aqib Fiaz, he was on right at the top. I think it's about 8:15 or so. Thank you for him for joining us. And thank you to you for listening, everybody in the chat. We've had a good time, haven't we? We've all enjoyed ourselves. I'm sure they have. Everybody listening as well on YouTube. Don't forget to go and subscribe and do all those lovely things. We'll catch you next time, next week, same place, same time. Thank you. Bye.
Patreon, baby. It's all